Marvel, I can devour everything. Chapter 1. What is this place? Why am I here? The feeling of weightlessness made Sujan a little uncomfortable, and he was confused looking at the environment around him. There were endless fires and explosions. Something seemed to be flying fast and shining in the air, and there were fierce sounds of fighting in the distance. This is Iron Man. Looking at the many steel suits flying in the air, Sujan thought, why did this scene look so familiar? This seems to be the last scene in the movie Iron Man 3. At the end, these steel suits exploded one after another. Sujan still felt regretful when watching it. Ah! Suddenly, Sujan covered his head hard, and felt waves of severe pain. It seemed that something suddenly appeared in his mind. After a while, he felt that the tearing pain disappeared, and he gasped for breath. There was a smile of surprise and joy hanging on the corner of his mouth. I didn't expect that I actually traveled to the world of Marvel and obtained the system. Just for a moment, a mechanized voice sounded in his mind, calling himself the King System, and briefly explained the current situation. I don't know why I traveled to the world of Marvel and obtained this King System. This system has its own mission of cultivating the strongest king. It can provide many functions, but it is only an assistant. Whether you can become a king still depends on your own efforts. My physique has changed. Although it looks the same as before, according to the system, his body has been transformed when he traveled through time. It has the ability to devour and stabilize. To put it simply, he can devour any ability without worrying about stability and fusion. In other words, he can devour various abilities to his heart's content, and his body will automatically stabilize them to the most perfect level without worrying about danger. This is definitely the best help. You must know that there are too many abilities in the Marvel world, such as Super Serum, Hulk Serum, Extremis Virus, Centipede Serum, etc. These all have powerful abilities, but they also have flaws, disadvantages and dangers, but your body can completely ignore them. Trouble in this regard. Of course, there are more powerful abilities, X-Men or Thor. There are many abilities, the difference is whether you have the strength to get them. Especially now, the Battle of New York is over, which means that the Avengers have been formed, the plot has ended, and even the plot of Iron Man 3 is about to end. It is not so easy to obtain powerful abilities at this time. Sujan was really a little depressed. Why did he allow himself to travel to this time? But, it doesn't matter, there are so many abilities in this world anyway, not to mention that without these superheroes who have already appeared, wouldn't my road to king be too boring? Of course, it's not the time to think about this yet, because he is now in the midst of Iron Man and Aldridge. Near Killian's battle, whether it's Iron Man, the big boss Killian, or his desperate fighters who can self-destruct, they can kill him casually. Sujan found a place to hide, paying attention to the fighting situation, and at the same time quickly thinking about how to obtain the Extremis virus. That's right, it's the Extremis virus. This is a good thing. It has super self-healing ability, super physical strength, and can breathe fire. It can be said that it is much more powerful than the super serum injected by Captain America. With this thing, at least you don't have to worry about being injured or dying, and you can still control fire. Of course, the disadvantages of the desperate virus are also obvious. The chance of success is very low, and losers will self-destruct. If it weren't for his body's ability to stabilize everything, Sujan would never have paid attention to the Extremis virus. This would be no different from committing suicide. Boom! There was a loud noise in the distance, as if a steel suit had exploded. From a distance, Tony could be seen. Stark sat on the ground embarrassed. It seemed that Killian should be inside the steel suit that just exploded, but Sujan knew that Killian was not dead. Sure enough, a moment later, Killian, whose whole body was like lava, appeared again, facing Tony. Stark walked over. The angry Killian and the panicked Tony Stark were about to be killed, but a woman suddenly appeared, Pepper. Pepper appears and knocks Killian away easily. Then, the iron suit locked on Little Pepper, but was easily defeated by Little Pepper. Careful! Tony Stark shouted hurriedly when he saw Killian appearing again and rushing toward Pepper. Little Pepper calmly picked up the arm of the steel suit on the ground and put it on his hand. The shock wave of his ability instantly hit Killian's body, and then Killian's soul flew away and was annihilated. What a pity! Looking at Killian, whose soul was annihilated, Sujan couldn't help but shook his head regretfully. He had originally planned to obtain the Extremis virus from him. But there is no chance now. Watching Tony Stark and Pepper Potts survive the catastrophe there, Tony Stark promised that Pepper Potts would be cured and started the cleanup process. In an instant, the steel suits in the sky exploded one after another, like gorgeous fireworks. What a pity, but fortunately, Iron Man is Iron Man, and it is impossible to truly give up the Iron Man suit and identity. Sujan looked at the steel suits self-destructing one after another in the sky, shook his head, and walked over slowly. There is still one. Tony shouted. Pepper raised the arm of the steel suit, and the blue hand cannon was already aimed at Sujan. Tony was a little surprised when he saw Sujan coming out. Don't be nervous. I don't mean any harm. I'm here to help. This beautiful lady seems to be in trouble. Sujan raised his hand and said with a smile. However, Tony and Pepper did not let down their guard at all. At this time, a mysterious man suddenly appeared. How could they let down their guard? The extremis virus is not perfect, and I believe you have seen its shortcomings. I believe that Tony Stark, the famous Iron Man, will definitely find a way. But, no one can be sure whether time will be enough. It's a feeling of fear. It's not comfortable. So, I'm here to help. I can help her completely remove the extremis virus from her body. I do not believe. Real. Tony was skeptical, but Pepper was a little excited. Sujan shrugged. Well, actually I am here just for the extremis virus, but at the same time it also helps you, right? So, why not let me try? At least there will be no danger even if it fails, and we may not be enemies, at least, not now. Chapter 2. Tony. Pepper looked at Tony Stark, who hesitated and whispered. Jarvis, I want to know the identity of this man. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Sujan. Jarvis shouldn't be able to investigate my identity. Sujan said with a smile. As expected, Tony Stark had already received a reply from Jarvis. As expected, there was no information about his identity. Looking at Pepper's expectant eyes, Tony Stark said helplessly, although I don't believe you, I can let you try. But I warn you that you'd better not have any crooked ideas, otherwise I'll let you go. Rest assured. Sujan's target is just the extremis virus, not to mention that whether it is Iron Man or the future searcher and rescuer Pepper, he has no intention of becoming his enemy for the time being, at least until he has absolutely powerful abilities. Sujan walked up to little Pepper, stretched out his hand and said, Relax, don't resist, the process may be a little painful, but I promise there won't be any danger. I don't want Iron Man and the Avengers to chase me, so don't worry. I'll be fine. Hey, what are you going to do? Seeing Sujan put his hand on little Pepper, Tony shouted hurriedly. Sujan said calmly, Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to take advantage of her. Believe me, I'm not interested in other people's women. As he finished speaking, Sujan felt a sudden surge of power in his body, as if it could swallow everything. In an instant, he felt a special energy coming from his palm. Pepper Potts' expression was a little painful, and Tony Stark stared at her intently. This process lasted for 5 minutes. Sujan suddenly let go of Xiao Jiao, his face was sweating profusely, and he sat on the ground exhausted. Are you okay? How do you feel? Tony Stark hurriedly supported Pepper and asked with concern. Pepper shook her head, I'm fine. I can feel that the extremis virus has disappeared from my body and I can't feel it at all. That's good, but let's go back and check it in detail. Tony Stark said worriedly. What about him? Little Pepper looked at Sujan. Sujan waved his hand, Don't worry about me, I'll be fine after a while. Let's go. Tony Stark was holding Pepper and preparing to leave. Although he was curious about who Sujan was and that he had the ability to absorb the extremis virus, but now, he was even more anxious to go back and check Pepper's body. Seeing Tony Stark and Pepper leaving, Sujan finally couldn't restrain his excitement and laughed. Success! It really worked. He could feel the changes in his body. The powerful power was exciting. With a thought, his arms instantly generated high temperatures, like magma. He stretched out his hand to touch the ground and could clearly see that the ground was being eroded rapidly. His arm returned to normal. Sujan picked up a piece of iron from the ruins and stabbed his arm hard. It hurt, but he wanted to laugh. Because the wound is healing quickly. Although this super self-healing ability should not be comparable to Wolverine's almost abnormal self-healing effect, the effect of being able to grow back missing arms and legs is already very powerful. At least, Sujan doesn't have to worry about dying casually, he has a strong ability to survive. This is just the first step, just a beginning. Suppressing his excitement, Sujan said secretly, then turned around and left here. 3 days later, Sujan drove a convertible sports car, changed his outfit, and parked on the street. He was young, handsome, and rich, and very attractive. After a while, Sujan had already rejected several beauties' attempts to strike up a conversation. As for where the sports car came from? Well, is it difficult for Sujan to get money? He just found a rich man, had a friendly conversation with him and got what he wanted. As for whether he would get into trouble, he wasn't worried. Because he needs to notice. In 3 days, Sujan had already figured out his next plan. He's joining S.H.I.E.L.D. That's right, joining S.H.I.E.L.D., although it sounds a bit frustrating, is his best choice at the moment. S.H.I.E.L.D. will be dismantled soon, Hydra will reappear, and joining S.H.I.E.L.D. will not be too restrictive. Moreover, his target is Phil Coulson, who was killed by Loki after the Battle of New York. Sujan still likes this good old man who was obviously killed but resurrected, and he will form a special agent team. According to the timeline, it is the plot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Sujan's goal is to join this agent team. First of all, although I have integrated the Extremis virus, I am not very strong in this huge Marvel world. If you want to become the king, you must become stronger. There are not many abilities that appear in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. relatively easy to obtain. With the help of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s resources, you can gradually become stronger, and you don't have to run around the world like a headless fly looking for abilities. Moreover, his identity as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent also allows him to have good contact with other superheroes. Although it seems a bit depressing to join other people's forces and not be able to make the decision on his own, in fact, all he needs is an identity that is very suitable for his early development. But it's not that easy to join S.H.I.E.L.D. I believe Tony Stark should have informed S.H.I.E.L.D. of his news. However, for the time being, he has not felt that anyone from S.H.I.E.L.D. is monitoring him. After all, New York, the war has just ended, there are a lot of things to deal with. And even if someone comes to contact him and believes that he wants to join S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm afraid it won't be that easy, let alone join Phil Coulson's team. So what's the point of joining S.H.I.E.L.D.? Fortunately, he didn't know if he had the aura of the protagonist, or if it was not just his physique that changed when he traveled through time, but also the ability to make all your wishes come true. He discovered the heroine in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Sky. The powerful hacker who just joined the Rising Tide organization will join Phil Coulson's team in the future and gradually understand his own life experience. The Inhumans, the superhero Shockwave Girl, can amplify the frequency of vibrations. Finally, she is the only agent with level 10 authority besides the one-eyed Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D. But now, she has not joined S.H.I.E.L.D., so Sujan plans to contact her first, and then when she joins S.H.I.E.L.D., they can join together smoothly. Out. Seeing Sky coming out of the coffee shop nearby, with long brown curly hair shawl, wearing a jacket, and delicate facial features that seemed to be a combination of Chinese and Western, Sujan slowly started the car and followed. Chapter 3. Not far ahead, there was a white business car that looked old and shabby. This is Sky's car and Sky's home. After buying coffee, Sky walked towards the car, unaware that a sports car was already following him behind him. Opening the door, Sky got in the car. Sujan, who was behind, stopped the sports car and prepared to get out of the car and pass over. Just when he opened the door and got out of the car, a person suddenly appeared in front of him. Wearing tight-fitting jeans, a tight t-shirt, and long red hair, she turned out to be a very sexy and beautiful beauty with a curvy figure. "Handsome guy, there is a bar nearby. Are you interested in chatting with me?" The woman reached out to hold the car door and said to Sujan with the corners of her mouth raised. Sujan was slightly surprised, but returned to normal after a moment. This calm expression surprised the woman. "It depends on whether the person I'm talking to is Natasha or the Black Widow," Sujan said with a smile, looking at her with unabashed eyes. As expected of her, she has a good figure and good looks. She is definitely one of a kind. Although it is not good to have a relationship with such a woman, the physical communication is still very good. Natasha smiled easily. "Okay, I guess that you would know my identity. So, what identity do you want me to use to talk to you?" "A woman, simply being a woman, is probably best." If you didn't steal this car, maybe I would be happy to talk to you simply as a woman. After all, you are still very attractive. Women are indeed realistic. Sujan shrugged in disappointment. Natasha's meaning was obvious. It was simply because Sujan's identity was mysterious and she couldn't be sure whether he was good or bad. He also committed robbery. She couldn't ignore it, and she couldn't just be a woman. Chat with him about his identity. I'm very curious about your origins and abilities. It's surprising that you can absorb the extremis virus and seem to be alive and well. Especially for someone who has no identity and background and seems to appear out of thin air. This is even more surprising. So, Mr. Sujan, no matter who I am, I think we should have a good chat. Natasha said seriously. Sujan glanced at Sky's car and seemed to have no intention of leaving for the time being. He nodded and said, how could I refuse the beautiful woman's warm invitation? What's more, in fact, I've always wanted to get to know you. Know me, why? Natasha asked curiously. Sujan looked at her and said, it's okay not to tell me the reason. Sure enough, men are all the same, none of them are good. Natasha rolled her eyes at him. There was a nearby bar. Because it was daytime, there were almost no people in the bar. In the corner, Sujan and Natasha sat down. Actually, I was thinking who would come to me, but I didn't expect it was you. Sujan took a sip of wine and said with a smile, I don't have much resistance to beautiful women, so you can ask whatever you want. I promise to answer you. This is my honor. So, Mr. Sujan, can you tell me your identity? Natasha said with a smile. My name is Sujan, Chinese. The reason why there is no identity information about me is because I did not exist in this world before. I think, there should be many people like this, and you should know it very well. But, now I want to live a little bit of the life I want, so there was no information about me before, but, there will definitely be in the future. Natasha nodded. She did know a lot about people like this who had no identity. It seemed that Sujan was probably a special person in China. As for saying it will happen in the future, it is also a statement of attitude. I just want to say that I have no ill intentions and have no intention of hiding my identity. What about your ability? You can absorb the extremis virus. What is your ability? The extremis virus has always been very unstable. If people know that you can stabilize the extremis virus, I think you should know the consequences. Natasha reminded. Sujan smiled, so, are you going to say that I'd better go to S.H.I.E.L.D. for protection? I don't mean it, but if you want, you are welcome to S.H.I.E.L.D. Natasha said with a smile. Forget it now, in the future, maybe it will be possible. Sujan declined with a smile. Actually, my ability isn't that special. It's no big deal. What's more, as long as I don't do anything bad, it doesn't matter what I have, right? At least, I shouldn't be able to threaten you now. Moreover, you can also turn me into someone from your side. After all, you are still very charming, maybe I will agree. Looking at the waist that was about to come out, Sujan said with value. Well, I always thought that Chinese people are very reserved, but now it seems, that's not the case. That's it for today. This is my phone number. I think, you will need her sometimes. Whether it's your personal needs, or other needs. Sujan smiled casually. Said a number, then stood up to say goodbye. Of course, I didn't forget to pay when I left. Natasha looked at his back and frowned. Identity, purpose unclear, familiar with S.H.I.E.L.D. or superheroes, unknown ability, seems to have the ability to devour and stabilize. At present, it is difficult to judge whether it is good or bad, so it is recommended to focus on observation. Natasha pressed her ears and whispered. Isn't he interested in you? Then I'll leave it to you to investigate as much as possible about his identity and purpose. If necessary, take action. A voice came from Natasha's ears. Natasha frowned, thinking of Sujan's glib and cynical attitude. I'm afraid it would be difficult to investigate him. Chapter 4. Natasha didn't think it was an easy task, but she didn't resist it. It is undeniable that Sujan is very charming. It is not that she has never been in contact with Chinese people, but Sujan is definitely the most charming person she has ever met. Sujan didn't go looking for Sky after coming out of the bar. He knew that Natasha would definitely follow and investigate him, but he didn't want to expose his purpose. If Sky's identity was exposed because of him and he failed to join S.H.I.E.L.D., Wouldn't he be busy? What's more, the New York War has just ended, Phil Coulson should not be resurrected at this time, and it is impossible to form a team, so he is not in a hurry. Anyway, Natasha can't always follow him, right? It's not a bad idea to take advantage of this time to enjoy life. Therefore, Sujan seemed to be on vacation for the next period of time, very relaxed. He was having a great time, but Natasha was depressed. She followed him for more than a week, but found nothing. Sujan had never used his abilities or contacted anyone. He was just like a tourist. Although she suspected that Sujan deliberately confused her like this, she had no time to waste time with Sujan. After asking for instructions several times, she had no choice but to give up investigating Sujan temporarily. As soon as Natasha left, Sujan breathed a sigh of relief. Although he had a lot of fun during this period, he didn't come to this world just for fun, at least, it's not the time for him to enjoy it yet. As soon as Natasha left, Sujan was ready to contact Sky. Although Sujan seems to be on vacation these days, he has been following Sky closely. He even had a brief meeting and conversation in a coffee shop, but it didn't go in depth. After all, Natasha was still there at the time. Night falls quietly. Seeing Sky walking out of a restaurant, Sujan stepped on the accelerator hard and crashed into Sky's car while pretending to be in time control. Oh no! As soon as Sky came out, he saw that his car had been hit hard, and the rear of the car had even been dented. Sorry, I didn't pay attention for a moment. Are you the car owner? I will pay for the repairs. Sujan got out of the car and said apologetically to Sky. Sky was a little angry at first. After all, her car, which could even be said to be her home, was hit. But when she found the owner of the car, she suddenly said in surprise, "It's you." Sujan pretended to be confused and said, "Do you know me?" "Yes, I accidentally spilled your coffee in the coffee shop a few days ago. Do you remember? My name is Sky." Sky explained. Sujan pretended to be suddenly enlightened and said happily, "I remembered it. I didn't expect it was you. What a coincidence. My name is Sujan. What a coincidence. I spilled your coffee and you hit my car? I thought, you wouldn't be so stingy, would you?" Sky said jokingly. Sujan shrugged, "It was just an accident. At least you suffered much more losses than me." Sky looked at Sujan's sports car, and the collision was definitely much more serious than his own car. What's more, this kind of sports car is very expensive to repair, and the repair fee is probably worth more than your own car. Do you know where there is a car repair place nearby? Let's go get the car repaired first. Let me see. Sky took out his cell phone and fiddled with it. After a moment, he shook his head and said, "Unfortunately, there is no car repair place nearby, but I have contacted the car repair shop and someone should take care of it soon." "I'm so sorry," Sujan said apologetically. Sky shook her head, indicating that it was nothing, but she was a little worried about where she wanted to live. From the look of the car, it was impossible to repair it in a short time. She usually lived in the car, and although she still had some money, she couldn't afford to go to a hotel to rest. "Is there any difficulty?" Looking at Sky's expression, Sujan certainly knew that she was in trouble, but he asked deliberately. Sky hesitated and said, "Yes, I'm homeless because my home needs to be sent for repairs." "You live in your car?" Sujan asked in surprise. Sky shrugged like Sujan just now, "Don't you think it's so free? When you wake up and open the door every day, you can see a different environment. Well, since I made you temporarily homeless, give me a chance to make up for it. After all, leaving a beautiful woman homeless is easy to be punished by God. I will stay in a nearby hotel temporarily, if you don't mind. I can open a room for you," Sujan said. Sky responded noncommittally, took his mobile phone and quickly looked up the hotel Sujan mentioned, and then said, "It seems that it is not so easy for you to make up for it. It seems that the hotel you are staying in has no vacancies." "No way." Sujan was really surprised this time. "There is no way, everything is being rebuilt now, and the hotel business is much better than before. Not only the hotel you are staying in, but also several nearby hotels seem to have no vacancies," Sky said depressedly. Sujan really didn't expect such a coincidence, so he hesitated and said, "How about you stay in my room? The sofa in my room is pretty good. I think, it should be good to sleep on. Of course, I don't want to let the beauty sleep on the sofa. Isn't this not good? Compared to living on the streets, I think it's better to live with a handsome guy, right? Okay, you succeeded in convincing me. Not long after the two chatted, the car repairman had already driven away. After leaving his contact information, he asked them to tow the car away. Of course, before towing away, Sky got into the car and took some things that he usually used, and then warned the car repairman not to touch or take things in the car, and then reluctantly let them leave. Let me get it for you. Sujan took the initiative to take Sky's things and took her to the hotel where he was staying. Chapter 5. The environment is nice. You can afford to drive a sports car and stay in a hotel like this. Are you rich? After entering the room, Sky asked Sujan curiously. It's okay. Sujan put her things away and said casually. Sky curled her lips. She could tell that Sujan deliberately didn't want to say anything, but now she was a little curious and started to investigate his identity with her phone. After all, if you want to live with him, it's better to get to know him a little bit. However, she was surprised to find that she could not find out Sujan's identity. There was no trace of the internet or identification, so she didn't believe it. You can do whatever you want, I'll take a shower. Sujan said something and then went to the bathroom. Sky responded, taking out his notebook and waving his fingers quickly. Entering the bathroom, Sujan filled the bathtub with cold water and put his fingers in the bathtub to release his power slightly. His fingers turned slightly red, and before long, the water in the bathtub began to boil. The water temperature is just right. Sujan nodded with satisfaction and started drinking. This is one of the abilities of the extremis virus, which causes the body to release high temperatures and become like lava. Although he was playing during this period, he did not stop mastering his abilities. From being unable to stabilize himself at the beginning, now he has made parts of his body activate high temperatures and controlled them, which is considered very handy. It's a pity that there is no chance to truly test one's ability. If used against ordinary people, it would be a bit too bullying. There is really no information at all. How is this possible? Who is he? In the living room, Sky looked at the computer in disbelief. She tried every means to investigate Sujan, but she found nothing, as if there was no such person in the world. He is definitely not an ordinary person. Sky had just joined the Rising Tide organization, with the purpose of making the hidden facts known to the public. Now she suddenly met a man with no identity and no past, which aroused her curiosity. Originally she was a little depressed because the car was hit, but now, she thinks it is a good thing. Half an hour later, Sujan came out of the shower. He was dressed simply in casual pants and a t-shirt, but he showed off his good physique. Sujan came over and sat down next to Sky, and started chatting with her casually. Most of the conversation was about daily experiences, and they also talked about a lot of things about China. After all, the mountains and rivers in China are much better than here. Sky was very curious about him and asked many circumstantial questions, but Sujan ignored them all. The two of them had their own thoughts, and they talked happily. Before we knew it, night fell. Sky went to the bedroom, while Sujan was about to rest on the sofa. Good night. Sky stood at the door and said something to Sujan. Good night. Sky closed the door and Sujan lay on the sofa and smiled. Looks like it's going well. That night, Sky didn't sleep very well. There was a man outside, and he was also a mysterious man. Whether it was curiosity, nervousness, or a sudden change of environment, it was not easy for her to fall asleep. I don't know how long it took to toss and turn before I fell asleep. When she woke up, the sun was shining brightly outside the window. She looked at the time and saw that it was almost noon. Are you awake? How did you sleep? Sujan asked. Sky smiled, not bad. I just asked the person who repaired the car. It may take 2 or 3 days to repair it. Do you have anything urgent? If not, how about you go shopping with me these days? I have been traveling alone, and I want to experience the envy of walking down the street. Envy? Why? Sky was a little curious. Because I have a beautiful woman accompanying me, of course others will be envious when they see her. Sujan said with a smile. Sky smiled and said, you really know how to make girls happy. You have a lot of girlfriends, right? I said I never had a girlfriend, do you believe me? No way? Then you are still. Looking at Sujan's appearance, Sky was surprised. Sujan is so handsome and charming, how could it be possible that he has never had a woman? Sujan shrugged and said helplessly, isn't it worthy of your surprise? Have you ever had many boyfriends? Sky shrugged in a similar way, I've thought about it, but I haven't met that person yet, not to mention. I don't have the intention of falling in love right now. Very good. Sujan smiled. What's good? It's nothing, I just think it's good that I haven't had a girlfriend and you haven't had a boyfriend. Sky looked at Sujan and said, you don't look like you've never had a girlfriend, but you look a bit like a playboy. Even if I'm a playboy, I'm not the stark type. The sun was shining brightly and there were no clouds in the sky. It was indeed different to have a beautiful woman by his side, and Sujan did experience that enviable feeling. I have to say that Sky had a great figure and was very beautiful. Perhaps it was to satisfy Sujan's lack of manly dignity. Sky even dressed up specially. Her appearance feels like a combination of Chinese and Western. After all, she is of mixed race and her mother is Chinese. The two of them are quite a match together. And with Sky here, you can always find a good place, or a restaurant that is relatively remote but tastes great. As they get along, the strangeness between the two gradually disappears, they become more and more familiar, and they become more and more comfortable getting along with each other. Sky was alone. So she enjoyed being with Sujan, which was something she had never experienced before. Chapter 6. After spending several days together day and night, Sujan found that he was becoming more and more fond of Sky. If Sujan hoped to enter S.H.I.E.L.D. through her at the beginning, and she was also beautiful and had a good figure, and she was completely in line with the instinct of men to appreciate women, then now Sujan found that he was attracted to her got a feeling. He believed that Sky was the same way. The two have not made their relationship clear, and there has been no breakthrough. Now it can only be said that they have a mutual affection, or a vague period of ambiguity. What's the saying? Happy times are always short-lived. The car was repaired. Once the car is repaired, there is no reason for Sky to continue living with Sujan, and they may even separate. So Sujan was thinking about whether to reveal his identity. Sky is a hacker and a member of the Rising Tide organization. To put it bluntly, she is not a person with a clean background. She has never told her identity. Obviously she has concerns or worries. Sujan could also feel that Sky was curious about his identity, and he didn't believe that Sky didn't investigate him. However, Sky never made it clear and pretended not to know. Therefore, Sujan wanted to know whether Sky just wanted to enjoy the beauty of this period of time, or whether he was serious about it. The most important thing is that Sujan himself fell in love with Sky, so naturally he couldn't let her go. Boom! Sky opened the door and came out of the bedroom, still carrying her things. It was obvious that she was getting ready to leave. Sujan looked at Sky, her expression was hesitant and reluctant. Are you leaving? Yes, the car has been repaired, and I can't stay here all the time. What's more, I have other things to do, so. Sky couldn't go on. She didn't understand how she could be so short. Falling in love with someone within a few days. But she knew her inner feelings, and she didn't believe she would be separated from Sujan so soon. For a lonely person, it is impossible to become dependent on or reluctant to leave someone easily, but once it happens, it is difficult to forget. Before you leave, I have something very important to clarify. Although it is a bit ridiculous and unexpected, this matter must be clarified. Sujan said seriously. Sky put down his things and walked to sit next to Sujan. I said before that it's true that I've never been in love. Maybe. I'm a playboy, and I can't help but have thoughts about beautiful women, but it's just a man's thoughts about women, not feelings. But this after a few days of getting along, I found that I like you. So, Sky, can you be my girlfriend? Sujan looked at Sky and said very, very seriously. The sudden confession made Sky very happy, but she didn't expect that Sujan also liked her. Only. Sujan, actually. I like you just as much, but I'm sorry, I can't be with you, because I. Sky was in pain. She was a hacker, someone who specialized in fighting against the government and S.H.I.E.L.D. hacker. Although she guessed that Sujan's identity was not that simple, it was just a guess and she didn't want to implicate Sujan. What's more, she still has her own purpose. She provoked S.H.I.E.L.D. just to attract S.H.I.E.L.D.'s attention, so that she could join S.H.I.E.L.D. and investigate her life experience and who her parents were. I know you have concerns, and so do I. I have been hesitating to tell you these days. My identity is actually very special. I am from China, but my memory is incomplete. I have lost a lot of memories. I am like the helpless child came here, not knowing what to do. Until I met you, it was as if life suddenly had meaning. I know you may mind this. No. Sky interrupted Suozhan. She didn't expect that Suozhan would tell her his secrets, let alone that his memory was incomplete. She could imagine a person losing his memory and coming here alone. Helpless. I don't mind. Although I don't know what happened to you, trust me, I will help you find out. Sky said seriously. The past is always just the past. I actually don't care. What I look forward to more is the future, and I look forward to having you in the future. Suozhan grabbed Sky's hand and looked at her expectantly. Although Suozhan felt a little sorry for Sky by fabricating the story about losing his memory, this was the most appropriate reason. How else to say? Am I a time traveler? Did I come to this world to be a king? I'm afraid that even if Sky likes him, it might be difficult for him to accept it. What's more, regardless of feelings, Suozhan also needs Sky's abilities. Not her abilities as in human shockwave, but her hacking skills. In the future, I will definitely work alone and create my own force. Sky's ability is very important. Actually, I have a secret that I haven't told you. I'm a hacker, a very powerful hacker. I just joined a non-governmental organization called Rising Tide. Therefore, it may be very troublesome in the future. I'm afraid of implicating you. Sky said. Suozhan smiled. Don't worry, I will protect you. As for being implicated, maybe I am implicating you. After all, I am now being targeted by S.H.I.E.L.D. Are you being targeted by S.H.I.E.L.D.? Sky suddenly asked nervously. Suozhan nodded and said, yes, I met the Black Widow before I met you. She followed me for a while. She probably didn't find anything, so she left. Why? Maybe it's because of my special abilities. Chapter 7. Special Power. Yes, you should know that there are many superpowers in the world, such as the Avengers, the X-Men, etc. I also have special abilities. However, I am not a mutant. This ability should be innate and suddenly awakened. It is a feeling that I can swallow all energy without causing any adverse reactions. I absorbed the extremis virus before, so S.H.I.E.L.D. discovered me and also discovered I don't have any identity, so they won't trust you, especially after knowing your ability. They will probably take you to S.H.I.E.L.D. for research. No. I absolutely cannot let them capture you. Sky thought for a moment, took out the computer and started dancing with her fingers quickly. What are you doing? Suozhan asked curiously. Help you delete your recent records so they don't find you, and then let's get out of here right away. Sky said. Wait a minute. Suozhan called to her. Believe me, I can do it. Sky thought he didn't believe in his ability. Suozhan said, I believe you can do it, but there is no need. I can't keep hiding like this. What's more, I told Black Widow that I won't hide, so they won't look for me for the time being. Trouble. What's more, it's not that easy for them to catch me. Really, if I have a chance, I'll show you my abilities and you'll know. Suozhan said confidently. Then, okay. Sky stopped hesitantly. However, this is still not safe. Although S.H.I.E.L.D. has not done anything to you for the time being, it is not a good thing to be targeted by them. You're right, then, let's leave now. Originally it was just Sky who was leaving, but now the two of them hit the road together and left the hotel. Sky and Suozhan's cars were parked nearby. Suozhan took one look and got directly into Sky's car. What about your car? Sky asked. You said that your car is your home. Since I am your boyfriend, of course I want to be with you. I don't want this car. Suozhan said casually. Okay. Although Sky felt a little pity, he preferred Suozhan's statement. The two got into Sky's car and left quickly. Sky has long been used to this kind of wandering life. The difference is that she now has a man by her side, her man. While walking, the relationship between the two of them is getting better and better. They are almost used to holding hands and hugging, especially when sleeping at night. Although the space in the car is not small, it is definitely not big. Avoid it. They slept together. Although nothing happened, the feeling of sleeping in each other's arms was enough to make the relationship between the two improve by leaps and bounds. There seems to be a good restaurant here, let's go try it. Sujan took his mobile phone and browsed nearby restaurants and found one that seemed good. He said to Sky excitedly. Listen to you. Sky said with a smile. Driving near the restaurant, Sky said, you go in first, I'll park the car and go there. Good. Sujan got out of the car and was about to find a seat first. As soon as he got in, someone happened to come out. Unexpectedly, the two of them bumped into each other. Sujan's body had been modified by the extremis virus. After being hit, he didn't move at all. The man took several steps back. Are you blind? Before Sujan could speak, the man had already cursed. Sujan frowned slightly. Yellow-skinned monkey, I'm talking to you, are you blind? Or, are you looking for death? Very good. Sujan was angry, looked at the man and said, boy, I'm pretty sure he's blind, but you're the one who's blind. It seems you are really looking for death. Honey, what's wrong? At this time, Sky parked the car and came over. Seeing that Sujan seemed to be arguing with someone, he hurriedly came over. Sujan turned around and smiled. It's nothing. I haven't had the chance to let you know how powerful your boyfriend is. Now, the opportunity has come. Boy, there are too many people here. Let's change places to chat. Just what I wanted. The man sneered and walked towards the alley next to him. Honey, what's going on? Sky asked worriedly. Sujan smiled and said, it's nothing, it's just that someone is looking for death, and there's nothing I can do about it. With that said, Sujan had already followed. Sky frowned and followed him while fiddling with his phone. This is a dead end. The man stood there and looked at Sujan with a sneer. Honey, be careful, his name is John, he is a mutant. Sky whispered to Sujan. Sujan was a little surprised, Burning John. Do you know my identity? It's too late. Today I will let you know what will happen if you offend me, Burning Man John. Burning Man John said ferociously, and a lighter appeared in his hand. Snap, the flames came out and became more intense, dancing continuously in John's hands. It's interesting. The corners of Sujan's mouth curled up slightly. Because of Shield and Sky, he had not specifically sought out anyone to gain abilities during this period. Unexpectedly, he met Pyro John by chance. This Pyro John is considered a villain. He has joined Magneto's Brotherhood of Mutants. He can control fire, but cannot create fire. In terms of ability, he is not very strong. However, it is more in line with my own development. He can now generate high temperatures, like magma, but cannot create flames. Originally, he planned to wait until he joined SHIELD, where he would meet a superpower from Hong Kong. He could create flames, and because his platelets were resistant he has the ability to use fire, so he is not afraid of being burned by flames at all. Sujan's goal was his ability to create flames. As for burns, it had no effect on him at all. However, if you can get John's fire control ability and create fire when the time comes, your strength will be greatly enhanced. John the Burning Man, you are really blind. How dare you find trouble with me? This is what the legend says. If you don't take the road to heaven, hell will have no way to enter. Chapter 8. Although this was Sujan's first battle, he was not panicked, even if his opponent was a mutant who was already somewhat famous and had experienced several battles. Honey, stay away. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Sujan did not fight, but calmly said to Sky. Although Sky was worried, he could not help much, so he could only stay away and try not to let Sujan be distracted by him. Seeing the flames of Pyro John on the opposite side getting stronger, Sujan moved his shoulders and wrists, then suddenly exerted force on his heels, and rushed out in an instant. Soon. Sujan was a little surprised when he was approaching. There were still dozens of meters away, but in the blink of an eye, he found that he was already in front of Burning Man John. Burning Man John seemed to be frightened by Sujan's super speed. He pushed his hand forward and the flames went straight towards Sujan. The heat wave hit his face, Sujan dodged to the side, dodged and then moved forward again. However, the flame was chasing after him like a gangrene attached to the bone, and it was moving very quickly. Sujan used his strong physical fitness and speed to keep moving, trying to find opportunities to get close to Burning Man John. However, Burning Man Zhan's combat experience was indeed very rich, and he controlled the flames so that Su Zhan had no chance to get close. Is this all you have? I thought you were shouting at me because of how powerful you were, but it turns out it was just words. Don't worry, I promise, you will see how powerful I am. Su Zhan sneered. Although he had not been close to Burning Zhan so far and even had to avoid the flames, he was not panicked because the heat of the flames had no effect on him at all. His own high temperature was higher than the temperature of the flames. Much. To put it simply, he could completely ignore this flame because it couldn't hurt him at all. The reason why he didn't do that was because he was familiar with it. Being familiar with the body's abilities and these changes will also increase your combat experience. After all, ability is very important, but sometimes ability does not determine everything, and it cannot determine victory or defeat. He found that his physical fitness was still increasing. In other words, although he had absorbed the extremis virus and integrated it perfectly, he had not fully developed the ability of the extremis virus, and he could still improve. At least in terms of speed, Pyro Zhan's flames couldn't catch up with him. Can you hide like a mouse? Okay, I'll see how long you can hide. When Pyro Zhan saw that Su Zhan was not solved cleanly, he sneered ferociously, and suddenly a part of the flames rushed towards Sky. Keep hiding if you can. Pyro Zhan laughed proudly. Damn it! Su Zhan didn't expect that he would be so mean and attack Sky. Without thinking much, he turned around and ran in Sky's direction. The speed increased to the limit, and he even felt that he was almost flying. He finally caught up with the flames, but was too late to push Sky away and could only block in front of her. Careful! Sky woke up from a dream and shouted hurriedly. Unfortunately, it's too late. No! Seeing the flames hitting Su Zhan's body, Sky yelled crazily. However, Pyro Zhan did not stop. The flames were like bullets, hitting Su Zhan crazily. Bang 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 bang! There were constant sounds, and Su Zhan's whole body was engulfed in flames. Haha, you killed yourself for a woman. What a fool! Unfortunately, even if you die, your woman will also die. Pyro Zhan laughed proudly and walked over slowly. A yellow-skinned monkey is a yellow-skinned monkey, and it can never be. Pyroman Zhan's proud laughter stopped abruptly, and he looked at the figure gradually emerging from the flames in disbelief. It's red like lava, and combined with the flames, it feels like the king of hell is coming. No, this is impossible. How can you be okay? Seeing Su Zhan's clothes in pieces, his body like the surface of magma, and his stern expression, Pyro Zhan shouted in disbelief while controlling the flames to attack continuously. However, these flames had no effect on Su Zhan's body. That's it? Is this the only thing you can do? Burning Zhan, you disappoint me so much. If you hadn't attacked my woman, maybe I would have played with you for a while longer, but now, it is an honor to be the first cornerstone of the road to kingship. Su Zhan's voice seemed to come from the netherworld, which made Burning Zhan feel fear deep in his heart, and he subconsciously stepped back to stay away. Whoosh! Su Zhan suddenly moved, and in an instant he was in front of Burning Man Zhan, grabbed his neck forcefully and lifted him up. The scalding high temperature made Pyro Zhan scream in agony. He could control fire and prevent himself from being burned by the flames. He even had a certain ability to withstand high temperatures, but the temperature Su Zhan gave off was too high and there was no flame. Just the kind of heat that melts everything. He felt as if his neck was about to melt. He struggled hard and controlled the flames with both hands to continuously hit Su Zhan, but it did not hurt Su Zhan at all. He finally realized how ridiculous his complacency was before, thinking that his flames were chasing Su Zhan everywhere. It turned out that Su Zhan was not afraid of his flames at all and was just teasing him. He was scared, he regretted, and he didn't want to die. Apologize, beg for mercy. He no longer cared about face. Fear made him just want to beg the other party to let him go, but he couldn't make a sound at all. His power was getting weaker and weaker, and the flames were gradually out of his control. He seemed to feel that a force in his body was being absorbed by the other party's hand and leaving his body. Crack! Su Zhan let go of his hand, and Pyro Zhan collapsed to the ground. He felt that he was about to lose consciousness. In a daze, he seemed to see that Su Zhan's body had returned to normal. But when he raised his hands, a ball of flame was beating between his hands, manipulating it to change in various ways. Appearance. This is my ability, you actually took away my ability, you you are a devil, you are a devil. Pyro John almost used up his maximum strength and shouted hysterically. Road. Sujan glanced at him and slowly raised his palm, the flames beating manically. No. A shout came, and Sujan stopped and looked at Sky, who was running over. Sky shook his head slightly. My dear, don't kill him, otherwise we will be in trouble. No, kill me, kill me. Pyro John shouted crazily. When he lost his ability, he lost his value. Magneto would no longer care about him. Losing his ability meant more to him than death is even more painful. Pat. Sujan clapped his hands and the flame disappeared instantly, then bent down and picked up the lighter that John had used before. Let's go. Sky nodded, and he and Sujan turned around and left the alley, leaving Pyro John lying on the ground with desperate eyes and screams. Chapter 9. Sujan couldn't help but smile bitterly when he looked at the burned clothes. It's not easy to be a superhero. If he had the chance, he would actually get a battle suit or something like that, not for the sake of popularity, but for convenience. Otherwise, it would be too depressing if it ended up like this every time. He couldn't help but think of the Hulk. His pants have always been one of Marvel's unsolved mysteries. They are always good. Speaking of the Hulk, it would be awesome if he could get his powers, at least he would be invincible on Earth. However, by absorbing Burning John's ability just now, he discovered a problem, that is, although he can absorb the ability through the contact of his palms, it is not that easy, especially when the other party resists, and the resistance he receives is very high. Powerful. Desperate Virus, Fire Control Ability. The first time was because Chili Pepper had no resistance at all, not to mention it was a serum ability, so it was easier and smoother. The ability to control fire is John's innate talent. It is caused by the X gene, so it is very difficult to absorb, especially when he resists. At first, he couldn't absorb it at all. If it weren't for his own high temperature that hurt John. I'm afraid the absorption is definitely not that smooth. Although it is completely impossible to easily devour and absorb the opponent's ability by clapping your hands, it can only be absorbed when the opponent is unprepared or unable to resist, and different abilities will cause different resistances. Therefore, don't think about the Hulk's ability for the time being. I'm afraid that even if he stood there without resistance and let himself absorb it, he wouldn't be able to absorb it. As long as you keep getting stronger, you may be able to do it when you are strong enough. Of course, no matter what, this time I also absorbed the ability to control fire, and if this ability is used well, it is still good. Therefore, although his clothes were ruined, Sujan was still in a good mood. Sorry, Sky, I'm afraid we won't be able to eat this meal. Sujan said apologetically to Sky, who was looking for clothes for him. Sky shook her head. It doesn't matter, it's just that we have to get out of here now. After saying that, she handed the clothes to Sujan, then turned around and prepared to drive. Sujan changed his clothes and breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Sky seemed calm. It seemed that she was not afraid or had any thoughts because of her abilities. Thinking about it, after all, there are so many people with abilities in this world, and Sky has specially studied these, so he won't be too panicked. Pyro John's loss of abilities will definitely be known. Let's not talk about the Brotherhood of Mutants for the time being. S.H.I.E.L.D. must know that it was done by him. After all, although Black Widow is not here, S.H.I.E.L.D. has the means to monitor people. But he is very smart, and he must have been monitoring himself during this period. Even if they don't, the characteristics of taking the ability will remind them of themselves. But what happened this time was an accident. It was John who took the initiative to find trouble. What's more, John is not a good bird, so apart from making S.H.I.E.L.D. more wary of him, there shouldn't be any trouble. Squeak! The sound of rapid braking interrupted Sujan's thinking. What's wrong? Sujan asked hurriedly. I'm afraid, we are in trouble. Sky said in a deep voice. Outside the car, a black jeep blocked the way. With its pitch-black body and highly reinforced glass, it was obvious at first glance that it was not something that ordinary people could afford. Stay in the car. Sujan said something and got out of the car with a lighter. Black Widow was wearing a black tights and leaning on the jeep. Watching Sujan come down, Black Widow flipped her hair and said with a smile, I knew you wouldn't be so honest, but I didn't expect to take action so soon. Burning John, his ability shouldn't be that strong, right? I didn't expect you to choose his ability. Sujan played with the lighter in his hand, and the flames flickered. I also know that you will definitely continue to monitor me, so you should know that it was him who took the initiative to cause trouble for me. Yes, but don't you think it's too coincidental? You happened to be going to that restaurant, and you had a conflict when he came out. Black Widow squinted her eyes and stared at the lighter in his hand. It was obvious that she was on guard. What is known so far is that he absorbed the Extremis virus and Pyro John's abilities, but who knows if he has other abilities. How could Black Widow take such a dangerous person lightly? Believe it or not, it's up to you. Anyway, you never trust anyone. Su Zhan said with a shrug. So, let's talk about your reason for coming. You don't just want to scare me, right? You probably don't have that much time. Okay, I'm here to invite you and your little girlfriend to S.H.I.E.L.D. Black Widow curled her lips and said. What if I say no? Su Zhan squinted his eyes and stopped swinging the lighter. Hey, don't be nervous. Things are not what you think. In other words, it is not aimed at you, but at your little girlfriend. The hackers of the Rising Tide organization have been very active recently. They have been publishing some news that shouldn't be known to the world. Black Widow said with a smile. Su Zhan curled his lips. It doesn't make any difference to me whether you target her. S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm not interested at the moment, so you can go back. What if I say no? Black Widow said the exact same thing. Su Zhan curled his lips. Then we can only fight. Seriously. I don't offend anyone unless they offend me. I really want to maintain a very friendly relationship with you and S.H.I.E.L.D., but the premise is, don't take any chances with me or the people around me. Su Zhan said and glanced at Black Widow, then turned around and got into the car. Let's go. Su Zhan said to Sky. Sky started the car and drove away slowly, but Black Widow didn't stop her. I won't offend others unless they offend me? How long has it been since you became boyfriend and girlfriend with a hacker from the Rising Tide organization? How do you expect me to believe that what you say is true? Black Widow murmured, underestimating in one sentence. He turned around and got in the car. Chapter 10. Trident Base, S.H.I.E.L.D. Headquarters. One-eyed director Nick Fury wore his iconic black trench coat and looked at the virtual screen in front of him. The picture on the screen was the scene of Su Zhan fighting with John. Nick Fury pressed the remote control and held the document about Su Zhan in his hand. There is a list in S.H.I.E.L.D. This list contains people with superpowers. Of course, it is also considered a monitoring list. After Su Zhan appeared, he had already entered this list. Director. There was a knock on the door and a woman walked in, Maria Hill. Level 9 agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury's assistant. How's Big Creek's plan going? Nick Fury asked. Everything goes well, it shouldn't take too long. Maria Hill hesitated for a moment and said, have you really decided? I think this is a very risky behavior. How is the selection? Nick Fury did not answer, but continued to ask. Maria Hill knew that his decision would not be changed, so she had no choice but to hand over the documents she brought with her. Nick Fury opened it and looked at it. There are records of several people on it. Melinda May, nicknamed Knight. Leo Fitz, an expert in high-tech weapons physics. Gemma Simmons, biologist and high-tech weapons expert. Grant Ward, operations specialist, level 7 agent. And the last one, Sky, super hacker and member of Rising Tide. Looking at the list, Nick Fury hesitated for a moment and said, let's add one more, Su Zhan. But before Maria Hill finished speaking, Nick Fury interrupted with a wave of his hand. His abilities are very special, and his identity is very mysterious. We don't know whether he is evil yet, so it is easier to judge if he joins the team. What's more, he is now with Sky together, I'm afraid it will be difficult to separate them. Just leave it like this, give this list to him when the time comes, and let him handle it by himself. Yes. She seems to have a very unusual relationship with you. Sky suddenly asked. Su Zhan said dumbly, I thought you would ask about the situation, but I didn't expect you would ask this first. A woman's intuition is very accurate. I noticed the way she looked at you. Sky said. I also noticed that it was a wary look. She came to invite us to S.H.I.E.L.D., but I didn't think it would be very friendly, so I refused. However, she knew your identity. Su Zhan explained, he said, but it doesn't seem to be a big trouble, so you can ignore it for now. You just need to know that no matter what the situation, if someone wants to deal with you, they must first step on my body. Because you are my girlfriend. I know, honey. Sky smiled sweetly, and the little jealousy disappeared. But dear, you are so powerful. Pyro-John is a very powerful guy. I didn't expect that he is no match for you. And you have absorbed his ability, right? So, you can control fire now. Of course, if you want, I'll set off fireworks for you tonight. Sujan said with a smile. Okay. Sky said happily. As a man, keeping your word is the most basic thing. So at night, Sujan took Sky to the roof of a building and let her enjoy a very dazzling fireworks, especially watching the controlled flames turn into I love you, Sky. Sky definitely felt that this might be the happiest time in her life. My dear, am I more beautiful or is Black Widow more beautiful? Sky suddenly asked while lying in Sujan's arms. Sujan couldn't help but smile bitterly. It seemed that all women in love were the same, even Sky was no exception. He didn't answer, he just held her chin to tilt her head up, and then kissed her hard. It took almost 10 minutes before the two separated. Sky looked at Sujan in a daze, and leaned hard against him, almost wishing that he could blend into one. It's cold, let's go back. Sujan said softly. Okay, but you have to carry me down. Sky said coquettishly. It's my pleasure. Sujan picked up Sky and turned around to go down. Back in the car, Sky thought that Sujan might take advantage of this atmosphere to do something to her, but who knew that Sujan just hugged her tenderly. You don't want to do anything? Sky asked softly. Sujan said with a smile, of course, I really want to, really want to. You have to know that every day with you is a test of willpower for me, but I don't think this is the place. It's a great welcome, some things are worth remembering, so naturally we have to leave the best memories. My dear, you are so good to me, I love you. Sky murmured movedly. At this moment, she decided that she should have no reservations about Sujan. My dear, actually I have a secret that I haven't told you. I didn't mean to hide it from you, but I didn't know how to say it, because it might be a little dangerous for you. What's going on? Sujan asked, looking at Sky who suddenly revealed his secret. Actually, the reason why I became a hacker and learned these technologies is to investigate my life experience. I want to know who my parents are. And the place with the best chance of investigating it is S.H.I.E.L.D. I joined Rising Tide organization, and oppose S.H.I.E.L.D. On the one hand, I feel that they are not qualified to hide many things that they have the right to know from the world. On the other hand, I also hope to join S.H.I.E.L.D. Sky said slowly, it's just. If I join S.H.I.E.L.D., I will join too. Sujan said without hesitation, wherever you go, I will go. What's more, you don't have to worry about what S.H.I.E.L.D. will do to me. Maybe they themselves hope that I can by joining, I can not only help them with work, but also monitor me more easily. But. No buts. You don't have to think that I will be in trouble or dangerous. In fact, it's not bad to join S.H.I.E.L.D. Anyway, there is nothing to do now. It's not bad to be a superhero. Sujan interrupted her and said with a smile. Okay, this matter is settled. If there is a chance, I will join S.H.I.E.L.D. with you. Thanks. Sky said softly. Fool, go to sleep. Patting Sky's shoulder gently, Sujan smiled. Not for his own purposes, but just for Sky's sake, Sujan was willing to join S.H.I.E.L.D. Chapter 11. The system upgrade is completed and the copy mission is started. In his sleep, Sujan vaguely heard the voice. He originally thought it was Sky talking to him, but when he reacted, he realized that it was the system in his brain. System upgrade? When was it upgraded? Why didn't I know? What does the dungeon mission mean? Sujan glanced at Sky, who was sleeping next to him, and silently asked the system in his heart. He doesn't even know when the system was upgraded. When you devour and absorb abilities, although these abilities will be converted into your own, they will also generate an energy to provide system upgrades. So, after I absorbed the Extremis virus and the fire control ability, you upgraded. The energy required for the upgrade came from my ability to absorb it. Will this weaken the power of the ability? No, this is additional energy generated. That's okay. Sujan breathed a sigh of relief, and then continued to ask, what's the status of the dungeon mission? The dungeon mission is a channel that allows you to improve your strength as quickly as possible. You can choose the dungeon plane by yourself. It is a completely independent plane. You can do what you want to do to improve your strength. At the same time, enter the dungeon tasks will be released later. If you complete the task, you can get rewards and provide energy for system upgrades so that the system can open more functions. Is this still possible? This is simply cheating. I was worried about letting go of my devouring ability, but I didn't expect that there would be a dungeon mission. How long can I stay in the dungeon mission? Can I use the things or people in the dungeon mission? Bring it out. Also, next time, can I enter this dungeon or open other dungeons? Sujan thought of several key questions and asked them in series. The current level of the system is too low. You can only stay in the dungeon for 12 hours and cannot bring anything out. The dungeon mission is reset every 30 days. You can choose to enter the dungeon plane you have already entered or open a new one. Plane. However, there can only be one copy plane. Also, the higher the system level, the more changes in copy tasks. In other words, as long as the level of the system is high, the things just mentioned are possible. So, if I devour abilities in the dungeon, will it generate the energy needed for upgrading? Can. That's fine. Sujan breathed a sigh of relief and thought about the first dungeon plane. This plane must have enough ability for itself to absorb and upgrade the system, so that it can obtain more benefits. However, you can only stay for 12 hours now, and you can enter once every 30 days, so you must make good use of it. Sujan carefully thought about the movies or TV series he knew, and chose the first plane. Finally, he decided to enter the plane of superpower. Superpower is also called superhero. The story is roughly as follows. The protagonist Nick's father was genetically modified by a secret organization to become a perfect assassin, but he died tragically in the end. Full of grief, Nick vowed to take revenge on the secret organization. Nick then infiltrated the underworld in Hong Kong to prepare a revenge plan. Not only did he convene a group of highly skilled partners, he also cooperated with Kathy Holmes, a girl who can predict the future. With her help, they jointly track the whereabouts of a stolen suitcase. Since the suitcase may kill the mysterious organization, it also becomes the key to their revenge. By working together, they successfully deceived the assassins and discovered the mysterious organization's latest weapon, a powerful new experimental drug named. The moment of decisive battle finally arrived. This is a movie mainly about superpowers. The reason why it is impressive is that many of the powers are quite good. For example, the protagonist can move objects with his mind and can also move the mind shield. Simply put, this is the ability to control thoughts. There are also superpowers that can emit high-frequency sound waves, the prophetic ability to predict the future, memory erasure, mind control, and the ability to be tracked through items. These abilities. There was originally a bottle of potion about superpowers, but I couldn't bring it out, which was a bit regretful. Of course, the reason why Sujan was deeply impressed by this movie is because the movie stars Captain America. Secondly, the story mainly takes place in Hong Kong. The villain Prophet is played by Lee Xiaolu, and the appearance is still the same. Very good. The time to stay is limited, and he doesn't know what tasks will be released at that time, so Sujan's plan is to devour all the abilities as much as possible. Even if he doesn't like many abilities, they can provide the system with the ability to upgrade. Then, give up this plane and choose a new one. There is no other way, not only to become stronger, but also to upgrade the system. He must devour as much power as possible. System, I still have a few questions. If I give up this plane and upgrade in the future, can I choose this plane again? If so, will this plane start again, or will it be inherited? Also, if I enter the copy plane, my body will also enter, right? You can choose the plane you have entered before and continue it. Yes, your body and spirit will be transferred to the dungeon together. If you die in the dungeon, it will be your real death. I understand. The choice of the dungeon plane is indeed very important. Sujan glanced at Sky and silently said to the system, select the superpower plane and let me in now. Select superpower on the plane and start entering. The system voice sounded. Sujan suddenly found himself on a busy street. The sun was shining brightly, the noise was noisy, and people around him were coming and going. He didn't feel at all how surprising Sujan's sudden appearance was. It's indeed Hong Kong. Looking at the familiar skin colors around him, Sujan felt a little strange. Is this the dungeon plane? Welcome to the superpower plane, mission release, main mission, obtain more than 3 abilities. Faction optional, Justice or evil? What does camp mean? Sujan asked curiously. Justice or evil, as the name suggests, is whether you choose to be a good person or a bad person. Friendly reminder, if you want to be a king, you cannot avoid being in the darkness, incarnate the darkness, and understand the darkness, so choosing the evil camp will give you extra rewards. Is this still possible? Sujan was surprised and somewhat doubted whether this dungeon plane was specifically used to vent negative emotions. However, since there were additional bonuses, he naturally chose evil without hesitation. Faction selection, evil, forcibly turning on the evil heart. The duration is until you leave the dungeon. As the voice fell, Sujan felt something was different about himself. He subconsciously raised the corners of his mouth, and his originally gentle smile became a little evil. Chapter 12. The movie did not clearly indicate the year and time. Walking on the street and looking at the endless flow of people, Sujan wondered what he should do. Since the time I have to stay is limited, that means the plot has probably already started or is about to start. There are 3 parties in the plot, one is the protagonist and his friends, one is their enemy, an organization that studies supernatural powers, and will arrange agents to come, including a big boss, and the remaining party is Hong Kong, there is a family of 4 people with superpowers called vampires. The father's ability is unknown. The 2 brothers can send out sonic attacks, and the sister, Li Xiaolu, is a prophet and can predict the future. Because she always held a lollipop when she appeared, she was called the Lollipop Girl in the movie. The main mission is to obtain more than 3 abilities. There are many people with superpowers here. More than 3 types are absolutely no problem. However, there are prophets in this world, that is, people with superpowers who can predict the future. I don't know if they can predict the future. I exist just in case, so I'd better kill the prophet first and gain abilities. There are 2 prophets here, one is the Bang Bang Girl Li Xiaolu, and the other, like the protagonist, is a second-generation superpower. In order to save her from the present, she came to cooperate with the male protagonist in order to find the special potion brought by the heroine. Who should we start with? Sujan showed an evil smile and started thinking about it as he walked away. At this moment, he suddenly saw someone out of the corner of his eye. A man who looks a little ugly and a little fierce is one of the 2 sonic powers. If he is here, then the other people should also be there? Now that we've met, let's start with you. Sujan smiled evilly and walked directly towards him. Sorry, could you help me? Sujan walked up to him and patted his shoulder. The sonic man frowned and stared at him in displeasure. Oh, I forgot, I have a fire myself. Sujan smiled and took out John's lighter and turned it on, the flame pulsating slightly. Your sister is a prophet, right? I really want to know if she knows how you died. You. The sonic man was stunned for a moment, and then he reacted instantly and was about to open his mouth to activate the sonic wave. But as soon as he opened his mouth, Sujan directly controlled the flame from the lighter to fly into his mouth. The hot flame instantly burned Sonic Man's throat, rendering him unable to make any sound. Sujan sneered and raised his hands, grabbing his neck and shoulders, and pushed him towards a remote alley. Don't move around and be obedient, otherwise it will destroy more than just your throat. Sujan threatened in a low voice and pushed him into the alley. Seeing the Sonic Man holding his throat in pain, Sujan remained unmoved and said easily, You can expect your sister to sense your situation and save you, but I only give you 5 minutes. After saying that, Sujan really didn't continue to do anything. He just fiddled with the lighter one after another. The 5 minutes passed quickly, whether it was long or short. It's a pity. It seems that she can't sense it. Then, you can rest easy. After saying that, Sujan suddenly grabbed his neck and activated his devouring ability instantly. Very easily, Sujan had already taken away his ability. Strange, it seems that my devouring ability has become stronger. Is it because I am stronger, or is it because of my evil heart? The devouring process went extremely smoothly without any hindrance. Although he didn't know the reason, this feeling made Sujan feel very good. Try this ability and see how it goes. Looking at the limp Sonic Man, Sujan opened his mouth and instantly launched a sonic attack. Harsh sounds came out, bang bang bang, boom. The surrounding glass and windows exploded one after another. The Sonic Man lay on the ground covering his ears and struggled in pain. Before long, blood was coming out of his ears, corners of his mouth, and eyes. After a moment, it became still. This ability is pretty good. Although it's not cool enough, it's pretty powerful. Sujan nodded with satisfaction, turned and left the alley, but did not go far. He sat down at a snack stall next to the alley, ordered a bowl of noodles, and ate quietly. He is waiting. Wait for others to show up. This Sonic Man is here, so the others should be nearby too. There was such a big noise just now, they should be able to detect it. Sujan planned to stay here, wait and see, and deal with them together. However, after waiting for a long time, no one came even after finishing the noodles, which made Sujan frown slightly. Could it be that they are not nearby or already know something? It's also possible that Bang Bang Girl doesn't have a good relationship with them, and even if she can't predict herself, she should be able to predict Sonic Man. After all, she is an outsider, but Sonic Man is a plot character. You know Sonic Man is dead, so you don't dare to come? Prophet, it's really troublesome. Sujan shook his head and left the stall. The movie didn't say where they were, but it did mention the protagonist's home. As long as you find the protagonist, you can find another prophet. It would be good to deal with her first. If you can get the ability of the prophet, you can also make it easier for him to find other people. Soon, Sujan had arrived downstairs at the protagonist's house, and happened to see two foreigners going up. These two people are from the organization. The purpose of coming to the protagonist is for the escaped heroine. They have the ability to track through objects. As long as they smell or touch, they can feel the user's past. What have you done? Let you live a little longer for the time being. After all, if I kill you, the prophet will know. Seeing them entering the protagonist's home, Sujan looked around. Because, after they leave, the prophet will appear to find the hero, and the plot will officially begin. Therefore, at this time, the prophet should be nearby and should be arriving soon. Sure enough, Sujan found her in a remote place. A little girl with colorfully dyed hair, holding a new unopened toothbrush in her hand, which was prepared for the protagonist, because the protagonist's toothbrush was taken away in case he escaped and couldn't find him. And he prepared the toothbrush because he wanted to prove his prophetic ability to the hero. I'm sorry. I'm afraid there won't be much for you next. Sujan said and walked over directly. The prophet didn't notice anything was wrong. It wasn't until Sujan came to her and looked at her with a smile that she felt something was wrong. I'll give you two choices. 1. Hand over your abilities, and 2. Die. You can choose for yourself. After all, you are still a child, so I will give you a chance to choose. Sujan said directly. Who are you? The prophet asked, then suddenly turned around and ran away. Unfortunately, Sujan was caught easily. You're not good. If that's the case, don't blame me. Wait, who are you? That's not important. What's important is that your ability belongs to me. After the words fell, Su Sheng grabbed her and began to devour her abilities. It was very smooth, and it had successfully swallowed up her ability to predict the future in just a few moments. Sure enough, it's because of the evil heart. I didn't expect it to have such benefits. Sujan let go of the little girl with satisfaction. Countless pictures had appeared in his mind. Those were pictures of the future. Chapter 13. The little girl who lost her superpower was a little weak, but more of a panic. She couldn't imagine that there were still people in the world who could gain superpowers. Are you surprised? Maybe no one in your world can do it, but unfortunately, I don't belong to your world. So, I took away your ability. Because you are still young, just I won't kill you anymore. Why do you want to take away my ability? I still want to. You still want to save your mother, right? Don't worry, no one from the organization will take that bottle of potion away. As for your mother, if I have a chance to come back, I can help you save her. I remember, your mother is still very beautiful. Okay, I have nothing to do with you anymore, my hunting has begun. Sujan looked at the two people who had left the hero's house, with a ferocious expression on his lips. Smile. Sujan deliberately did not catch up and take action immediately, but used the ability to predict the future to find the two of them. It was considered a familiar ability. It has to be said that this ability to predict the future is indeed very strong. Although it is only a fragment, as long as you can identify the position in the fragment, you can be one step ahead. Unfortunately, it is just a fragment and not complete, so if it is a familiar environment, it is fine, but in an unfamiliar environment, the success rate is still very low. At least Sujan tried several times, but not all of them succeeded. In particular, these clips seemed a bit random, just a fragment of something at a certain time, a certain place, without any cause and effect, so after the novelty wore off, Sujan was not ready to continue playing. If this ability could be evolved and improved, it might become very powerful, but right now, it's somewhat useless. Found you. Looking at the two trackers not far away, Sujan walked over from behind and put his arms around their shoulders. The two people were startled and were about to take action subconsciously, but suddenly they heard Sujan say, "I know where the woman you are looking for is." Hearing this, the two people paused subconsciously for a moment. At this moment, Sujan's devouring ability was activated. The ability to swallow two people at the same time. The two people instantly felt as if something was being dragged away and hurriedly resisted. The two of them were very strong and powerful, but they couldn't break free from Sujan's hand. Even if they attacked Sujan, they didn't seem to have any effect or reaction on him, and Sujan's expression didn't even change. Any changes? No, there was a change, because he showed a mocking expression, as if he was laughing at their wasted effort. "Hey, it's really troublesome to absorb two of them at the same time. If you don't have an evil heart, I might not be able to do it." After a moment, Sujan breathed a sigh of relief, his hands pinched his neck, and then he exerted slight force. In an instant, the two of them collapsed to the ground, and Sujan had already left quickly. 3 abilities are obtained: Sonic, Precognition, and Tracking. Among them, the tracking still absorbed 2 at the same time, and it seemed to be enhanced, but Sujan was not sure about the specific details, and he was not interested in trying it. What's left? Mind control, mental control. There's also the ability to delete memories. The owner of the ability to delete memories, Sujan, has a very deep memory, because he once played Fat Tio Tuo in Chen Xiaokun's version of The Deer and the Cauldron. It seems to be on a fishing boat in the movie. Sujan is more interested in this ability, which can delete other people's memories. After leaving the dungeon, if he does something inconvenient, he can use this to delete the other person's memory. However, it does not seem to be very strong, and it has the ability to restore memory, so use it with caution. Calculating the time, it has been about 4 hours since I came in. The time was mainly wasted on testing the prediction ability, but the remaining time should be enough. He easily found the person with the superpower of deleting memories, successfully seized his ability, and deleted his memory at the same time. However, the first time he used this ability, he seemed to have overused it, which directly caused all his memories have been erased and he is now like a baby. After absorbing the 4 abilities, Sujan felt that he had become very powerful, and he was very eager to continue to devour abilities, and this urge became stronger and stronger. He went directly to the hero's house because the little girl didn't come to the door. For the hero, his plot had not yet unfolded. Only after arriving at the place did he realize that the hero was missing. Sujan then remembered that the hero seemed to be about to escape after the 2 trackers came to the door, but the sudden appearance of the little girl disrupted his plan. So, he has escaped now? To look for it or not to look for it? Sujan frowned. Although he could use his tracker ability to find the hero, who knew where the hero had gone, and he was very experienced in this kind of escape. Even if he could find him, it would take a lot of time. He doesn't have that time. And he can also feel that the desire for devouring power is getting stronger and stronger. Boom! The door was suddenly kicked open, and another Sonic man walked in. Behind her was the prophet Li Xiaolu, who was holding a lollipop. When they saw Sujan, the 2 of them were startled, as if they didn't expect him to be here. "Run!" Li Xiaolu shouted and wanted to run, but unfortunately it was a little late. Sujan moved very quickly and closed the door heavily in the blink of an eye, blocking their way. At this time, the Sonic man seemed to be preparing to launch a sonic attack, but Sujan suddenly hit him in a circle, directly hitting his Adam's apple, knocking him down instantly, and then used a lighter to release flames, controlling the flames to surround him near the door to prevent Li Xiaolu from escaping. "I was worried that I couldn't find you, but you brought it to my door yourself, so I won't be polite." Sujan's eyes were red and he smiled ferociously, walked to the Sonic man, squatted down, and directly devoured his ability. After devouring his ability, Sujan changed even more. Although his facial features had not changed, the evil feeling was very clear. "It's your turn, Profit. Sujan approached Li Xiaoluo step by step. Boom. Li Xiaoluo took out a gun and shot him directly. Unfortunately, Sujan was very fast and managed to dodge. Li Xiaoluo couldn't believe that he managed to avoid such a close distance. Her act of shooting angered Sujan. With a quick step, Sujan had already arrived in front of Li Xiaoluo, grabbed her neck and lifted her up. His eyes were precisely focused on Li Xiaoluo's upper body, while the struggling Li Xiaoluo kept swinging her legs, slender and slender. Sujan looked a little obsessed, a little crazy, and there seemed to be a very strong idea deep in his heart. He put Li Xiaoluo down, and then, pounced on her fiercely. Chapter 14. Where am I? What's wrong with me? Sujan, who woke up leisurely, looked at the naked Li Xiaoluo next to him in confusion. He remembered, he seemed to have swallowed up the Sonic Man's ability, and then wanted to swallow up Li Xiaoluo's ability, and then seemed to be attracted and inspired by her figure. A certain desire, and then uncontrollable. It seems that I did it too harshly. Sujan glanced at the embarrassed Li Xiaoluo and felt a little apologetic. He was out of control at the time, but he seems to have recovered a little now, as if he has vented his negative emotions. Of course, this venting method is somewhat special. Is it because of an evil heart? Sujan couldn't figure out why he suddenly lost control. There seemed to be no other reason other than an evil heart. Oops, why did I sleep for so long? Looking at the dark night outside and the time displayed on the clock, Sujan was depressed. Calculating the time, it seems that there is less than an hour left. The hero and heroine don't know where they are yet, and the boss of the organization doesn't know where they are either. Thought control and mind control. Especially mind control, this is the ability he wants most. It would be a shame to miss it like this. No, I need to find the male protagonist as soon as possible, or I can find a follower next to the villain boss. He also has the ability to control his mind. Sujan didn't want to miss the opportunity to gain abilities. Time was limited, so he used his precognition ability to try to find them. But at this time, Sujan suddenly discovered that his ability had failed. He tried again unwillingly, but the result was the same. Sound waves, precognition, tracking, and the abilities he just swallowed all seemed to have failed, but his fire control ability was still there, which made him feel a little relieved. It seemed that there must be something wrong somewhere, which caused the ability he just swallowed. Failed? MD, your hard work won't be in vain, right? Sujan cursed dejectedly, but looking at Li Xiaoluo, well, it's not like the work was in vain, at least, it was fun for once. After losing the ability that I just swallowed, and the plot was seriously damaged by myself, there was not much time left, so it was probably too late. Although Li Xiaoluo's ability hasn't been swallowed up by herself yet, she might be able to find it, but she is still fainting now, and Sujan can't bear it, especially when he sees the bright red blood next to him, he feels a little guilty. Forget it, I can still come in after 30 days anyway. At worst, I'll keep this plane and come back again. Sujan shook his head in resignation, found the banknotes and left a note, then helped her put on her clothes and quietly waited for the time to end. The copy time is over and we'll be back soon. The system's voice sounded, and Sujan had disappeared. The next second, Sujan appeared in Sky's car, but Sky was not in the car. Came back. Sujan sighed, and then asked the system, what happened before? Why did I lose control? Is it because of my evil heart? I can feel the evil in my heart is very strong, the feeling of doing whatever I want. Extremely strong. Dungeon mission statistics, rewards for completing main missions. What reward? The energy required for system upgrade, the specific value is unknown. Okay, you'd better answer the question I just asked first. Losing control is not due to an evil heart, but because you devoured too many abilities too quickly. Although your body can automatically adjust the devoured abilities, remove disadvantages and stabilize abilities, this requires a process, and you eat too much, so the process slows down, causing you to lose control. Is that so? Sujan thought about it and found that it was indeed the case. No matter how strong your body is, you may not be able to improve if you swallow too much at once. However, since the task is to swallow more than 3 abilities, that is to say, swallowing 3 abilities should be the limit of my body. Of course, the premise is that it can be devoured continuously in a short period of time. What about my ability to devour? It's not ineffective, it just requires your body to improve and adjust. Once it's over, it will be fine. So, it's just temporarily unavailable? That's okay, otherwise, it would have been all in vain. Sujan breathed a sigh of relief and asked, System, is the energy this time enough for you to upgrade? I have swallowed so much there should be a lot of ability and energy, not to mention the rewards from the mission. Not enough energy to upgrade. Isn't this enough? Well, it seems I will have a hard time getting you to upgrade. Are you back? Where were you before? Why can't I see you when I wake up and can't get through the phone? The car door was opened and Sky looked at Sujan and asked in surprise and worry. Sujan smiled. You weren't awake when I got up, so I didn't tell you. I found a good restaurant before, but it only had online reviews, so I went to check it out in person because it was a bit far away. If it was good, I would take you there. Go, if it's not good, there's no need to bother. Unfortunately, the place is not that good, so, it's all in vain. As for the phone, I haven't paid attention to it, maybe because the signal there was not good before. My dear, don't do this again. I don't care if the restaurant is good or not. I only care if the person eating with me in the restaurant is you. You don't know how worried you are that I can't contact you. I thought something happened to you. Sky said with concern. Okay, I promise I won't do it next time. Sujan promised apologetically. But although I was a little disappointed with that restaurant, I'm really hungry now, so beauty, would I be honored to have dinner with you? Of course, handsome. Sky responded with a smile. Chapter 15. 1 week after returning from the copy, Sujan's devoured abilities have been gradually restored. It seems that his body has gradually adjusted and his abilities can be used. However, these abilities have little use for the time being, except for the ability to predict. On this day, Sujan suddenly felt a fragment of the future. He and Sky were sitting in the car, the door opened, and a smiling man in a suit stood outside the door. Phil Coulson. He seemed to be saying something and stretched out his hand, but what he saw was only a fragment, but there was no sound. Sujan guessed that he was probably invited to join S.H.I.E.L.D., and it seemed that he had been invited as well, because his hand was stretched out towards him. The predicted future won't be too far away, so it should be something that will happen soon, but this time seems to be earlier than the normal plot, at least about 2 or 3 months in advance. What are you thinking about? Sky asked softly when he saw Sujan in a daze. Sujan shook his head, It's nothing, I just suddenly had a feeling that someone would come to us. Premonition? Do you have the ability in this area? Sky asked curiously. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sujan explained. Anyway, these abilities were not obtained in this world, and no one knew what kind of abilities he had before, so Sujan had nothing to worry about. Then did you have a premonition that we would be together? Sky suddenly asked curiously. Sujan shook his head, No, but I think this is destined, so, there is no need for any premonition at all. Moreover, although I didn't have a premonition that I would be with you before, I have a premonition that in the future, we will always be together. Together. I don't know if what you said is true or not, but I'm very happy. Sky said with a smile. Bang 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 bang. Chapter 16. Someone knocked gently on the car door. Sky looked at Sujan in surprise. Sujan shrugged. It seems that this time the premonition seems to have come true. Open the car door. Sure enough it was Phil Coulson. Sujan, Sky, hello, let me introduce myself. My name is Phil Coulson, and I am an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Phil Coulson said with a smile. What's the matter? Sujan asked. Why don't we talk somewhere else? Phil Coulson said with a smile. Sujan and Sky looked at each other, and Sujan nodded in agreement. I thought that when Coulson said changing places, he meant a nearby coffee shop or something like that, but he didn't expect that he would take them directly to the plane. It's the plane in the TV series Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It can also be called a mobile base. Sujan saw Coulson's antique car. Of course, it just looked antique. In fact, this car was equipped with quite high-end functions, including flying in the air. At the same time, Sujan also met the 2 scientist agents, Leo Fitz and Gemma Simmons. It is worth mentioning that Gemma is much more beautiful than in the TV series. Please take a seat. After arriving at the bar in the plane and sitting down, Coulson said directly, I am building my own team. This plane is the base. It looks good, it is convenient and fast, and can be moved at any time. There are not many bases like this. It's indeed good. Sujan nodded. However, I want to know more about what is going on with you. Isn't it because you want to show us around your base? Of course not. In fact, I mainly came here to find her. Carlson looked at Sky. A master hacker and a member of the Rising Tide organization. The Rising Tide organization has repeatedly broken into our systems, stolen information, and released it to the public. Most of this information is something that ordinary people should not know and cannot accept yet. Not long ago, again news about some ability users has been announced, so, Miss Sky, I hope you can help me. Help you? Why, what right do you have to hide this? There are so many superpowers and superheroes in this world, wouldn't the public already know about it? Sky said. Carlson nodded and said, yes, especially after the Battle of New York, the public naturally knew about the existence of superheroes, but, this is different. The existence of a small number of superheroes will make people feel at ease, because when encountering dangerous situations there will be times when these superheroes will help. But if there are too many superheroes, it will not be practical, but worry. Like a mutant? Not really, but it's almost the same. In fact, this kind of thing is unavoidable, but if the public knows that someone is doing research to create superpowers, then the results will be completely different. At present, there have been many cases of superpowers. After investigation into the cases of superpowers, it was found that these superpowers should have been injected with some kind of serum, but it was not perfect and would self-destruct. To put it simply, it is similar to the extremis virus, so it is very likely that someone got the extremis virus samples of the virus to study new virus serum. Just tell me what I did. It wasn't me. When Carlson mentioned the extremis virus, he glanced at Sujan. Sujan curled his lips and said dissatisfied. Coulson apologized, of course, I'm sure you didn't do this, but it has seriously endangered social security. It's just that the other party is very cunning, and we tried many methods but couldn't find out about them. And the Rising Tide organization, he also deliberately announced this information to break through our system, which seems to confuse the public, so. So you found me? Sorry, although I have this ability, I didn't do this. Sky shook his head and said. But maybe you can help us find this mysterious organization. Carlson said seriously. Maybe, but why should I help you? Because this is a good way for you to clear yourself of suspicion. Based on your status in the Rising Tide organization, I have the right to arrest you. You can try it. Sujan took out his lighter and said with a smile. We are now at an altitude of 6,000 meters. I don't know if you have the ability to fly, but I am willing to take a gamble. Coulson said calmly. Sujan looked at him with a half-smile. Although Coulson's tone was calm, it could be seen that he was actually very nervous. Are you threatening me? No, I prefer to think that this is my sincerity. I can arrest you, but I don't want to do that. I just hope that you can help me, and also help those who died because of the defects of the virus. Kayerson said seriously. Okay, I'm willing to help. Sky said suddenly. Sky, if you don't want to, believe me, no one can force you. Sujan said to Sky. Sky nodded and said, I know, but he is right. Many people have died because of this. In the future, there may be more. I don't know whether these people are voluntary or forced, but I think, we can help them. Well, it seems that I can only consider blowing up this place again if I have the opportunity in the future. Sujan said helplessly, looked at the nervous Coulson and said with a smile, don't be nervous, I'm just joking. That's not funny. Coulson grinned bitterly. Chapter 17. Sujan was not surprised that Sky decided to help. First of all, Sky was kind-hearted, so it was really hard to ignore this kind of thing. Secondly, this is a good opportunity to join S.H.I.E.L.D. Only by proving one's worth can one enter S.H.I.E.L.D. Sky used the equipment on the plane to start investigating, and had to admit that her hacking skills were indeed very powerful, especially with the support of such high-end equipment, she was almost omnipotent. Seeing Sky busy in earnest, Sujan felt a little bored. If you feel bored, I can have someone take you to see the plane. Phil Coulson stood next to Sujan and said in a low voice, actually, I don't understand this either, but there is no other way. I can only wait for news here. As he said that, he pressed the communicator on his ear. Gemma, come here if it's convenient. After a while, Gemma came over wearing a white coat. Gemma, take Sujan around. Good. Gemma nodded and smiled at Sujan. Sorry to bother you. Sujan smiled. He was indeed interested in this aircraft, and it was very popular. However, the most popular thing is the aircraft carrier of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it is not easy to get that thing. When the system is upgraded and the things in the dungeon plane can be brought out, I will figure out how to get them. The character of the scientist is somewhat strange. Genma took Sujan to visit the aircraft. No. It couldn't be said to be a visit anymore, it was just science popularization. It's a pity that Sujan couldn't understand a word she said. Seeing how enthusiastically she said it, Sujan found it quite interesting. Do you have a boyfriend? Sujan suddenly asked. Gemma was stunned for a moment and shook her head. No, I was directly recruited into the team right after I graduated from the academy. I didn't have the time or energy when I was in school, so yes. I don't have a boyfriend. What about you? Si Kai is your girlfriend? Yeah. Sujan nodded. Looks good. Gemma said with some envy, then quickly changed the subject and said excitedly, I have read your information. You are very mysterious and seem to have special abilities. You have absorbed desperate situations. The virus is not dangerous at all. It is very likely that your genes or serum can inhibit the peace gene virus. If the cause can be found out, many people can be saved. Those who were transformed were basically injected with the centipede virus. This centipede virus was developed based on the extremis virus, so. The more Genma talked, the more excited she became, but then she noticed Sujan's noncommittal look, a little lack of confidence, and his voice became lower and lower, and finally shut up. I should know, you should hate this, just pretend I didn't say anything. Gemma apologized. Sujan shook his head in surprise, it's fine if I just ask you to draw a little blood, but, my blood is not that easy to draw, so, since you want to do research, then you will do this. What does it cost? Really? Do you really agree? Great, tell me what you want. Gemma said excitedly. I want you. Sujan stared at Genma. Gemma was stunned, want me? What's the meaning? What? Are you unwilling? I thought you were willing to sacrifice for the sake of science and those innocent people. But now it seems that you are not so determined. Sujan shook his head in disappointment. If you are really willing to give me your blood for me to study, I can promise you. However, it will be an equal exchange, one at a time. Gemma hesitated for a moment and said firmly. Sujan was actually just joking to tease her, but he didn't expect that she actually agreed. Why? Just for my blood? Sujan asked curiously. On the one hand, there are other reasons. Gemma said, lowering her head. What reason? I don't know, I think you are very special. It's hard to describe what it feels like. I just feel very close. Although the information says you may be dangerous, I believe you are not a bad person. That's why I agreed. I am not a casual person, and I will agree to anyone who gives me blood. Gemma said with a blushing face. This answer surprised Sujan. Could it be that this was love at first sight? Well, although he knows that he is very attractive, it seems that Black Widow had some feelings for him when they first met, and then Sky, they also established a relationship not long after they got together, and now. Gemma is the same. Do I have any hidden charms? Looking at the somewhat shy Genma, Sujan suddenly smiled and reached out to hold her chin, causing her to raise her head involuntarily. Then under her nervous and shy gaze, Sujan lowered his head and kissed her. Gemma closed her eyes subconsciously, feeling this feeling that she had never experienced before. It seemed like a long time, yet it seemed like just a moment. Sujan let her go and said with a smile, actually, what I wanted to say was that I wanted your first kiss. However, your proposal made me very excited, so I changed my mind and followed your instructions. It's up to you. So, if you are ready, you can come to me at any time, let this be a little secret between us. Gemma understood what he meant, nodded, and said, don't worry, I won't tell Sky, nor will I tell anyone. I don't know how I could do such a bold and absurd move. I hope you don't misunderstand me. Of course not. Sujan was very sure that Genma was actually a scientific madman with no experience with men and women at all. That's good, I'll find you when I'm ready. Gemma said shyly. I'm waiting for you. Now, just keep taking me around. Genma took Sujan for a tour of the plane, and by this time Sky had already received results. She did not investigate the situation of the mysterious organization. This organization seemed to be very large and it was not that easy to conquer. However, she had finally found out the first experimenter. Michael Collins. His situation is not very good. He has a son who was transformed by the centipede virus, but he has always been very secretive and has almost never been discovered. This time it happened to be because he appeared at an explosion scene and ended up exposing his abilities in order to save people. His condition seems to be very stable. Maybe, it was successful. We must find him as soon as possible and determine his condition. Phil Coulson looked at the virtual screen and said seriously. Centipede warriors are in very unstable condition and will self-destruct. Once it explodes, the damage caused can be considerable. I have locked his location, but I hope you can guarantee that nothing bad will happen during this process. Sky said. I can only promise that I will do my best. All right. Sky said the address, and the plane immediately rerouted. Thank you, dear. Sujan hugged Sky and sat aside. Sky shook his head, it's nothing. I hope I can help him, but I'm afraid it may not go so smoothly. If there is really danger, dear, will you helping? Certainly. Chapter 17. Michael Collins' home. Michael was a little restless. He could feel that something was wrong with his situation, and it seemed that it was getting harder and harder to control. Looking down at the centipede device on his left wrist, he didn't know what to do. His son has been sent away by him, and he doesn't want to hurt his son. Bang bang bang. There was a sudden knock on the door, and Michael became nervous instantly. He walked to the door and looked outside through the door. A man and a woman, whom I did not recognize. Who? Michael asked in a deep voice. Michael, we're here to help you, Sky said. Michael hesitated for a moment and opened the door. Hello Michael, my name is Sky, and he is my boyfriend Sujan. We are here to help you. Sky said softly. I don't know you, and I don't need your help. Michael shook his head. Sky glanced at his wrist and said, Listen to me Michael, your current situation is very dangerous. I know that you have been injected with the centipede virus, and I also know that your situation seems to be stable, but this is only temporary and must be confirmed. Only if there are no problems, otherwise you will not only endanger yourself, but also endanger others. Who are you? Michael asked in a deep voice. We are considered to be members of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the time being, but we are not with them. I helped them find you. I hope you can go to S.H.I.E.L.D. so that they can study the centipede virus in your body and find a solution. Before Sky could finish her words, Michael was already furious. S.H.I.E.L.D., doing research, he knew it was not a good thing as soon as he heard it, not to mention that she found him, he roared and rushed towards Sky. Court death. Seeing Michael's move, Sujan sneered, blocked Sky in an instant, and then kicked him directly. Michael ignored Sujan's attack. He knew his strength very well, but when Sujan kicked him, he felt a strong force, as if he had been hit by a truck, and he flew out. He bumped into the sofa next to him and lay down on the ground. How is it possible? Michael looked at Sujan in surprise, completely unable to understand how he could be stronger than him. Nothing is impossible. Sujan sneered, came to him in an instant, and picked him up directly. Michael panicked and tried to break free, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't shake Sujan. Anger caused his body to gradually change. The centipede virus seemed to be uncontrollable at this time. He felt that his body was heating up, as if it was about to melt and explode. Let me go, let me go. Michael shouted. Snort. Sujan snorted coldly, suddenly let go of Michael, and immediately slashed his neck with the knife. Crazy Michael collapsed to the ground in an instant, and the heat in his body seemed to disappear. Are you okay, not scared? Sujan asked Sky. Sky shook his head, I'm fine, but his condition is not stable. He seemed to be about to self-destruct just now. If you hadn't knocked him out in time, I'm afraid we would have been in danger. Take him back first and wait until he wakes up and calms down before we talk. Sujan said. Sujan carried Michael and Sky out, return to the plane, and put Michael in the special room. Coulson said seriously, his situation is worse than imagined, and a solution must be found as soon as possible. We have to find a way. If it weren't for Sujan, if he blew himself up just now, I'm afraid many people nearby would be implicated. You can absorb the extremis virus, so you should be able to absorb the centipede virus, right? Coulson asked Sujan. Sujan pouted, maybe, even if he absorbs it, what's the use if he's safe? There are many centipede warriors like him who have been transformed by the centipede virus. I can't let me absorb every one of them, right? Makes sense. Coulson shook his head and hesitated to speak. He actually wanted to ask if he could study Sujan's body, but he didn't say this. He knew that Sujan would definitely not agree, and he was not sure how Sujan would react after what he said. He didn't want to anger Sujan. Anyway, I want to thank you all this time. If Sky hadn't found him, if Sujan hadn't stopped you in time, many innocent people would have been injured this time. Your abilities can help more people, so, I formally invite you to join SHIELD and become a consultant for my team. I wonder if you are willing to join. Coulson said gratefully and seriously. Sujan shrugged and said, don't ask me, if Sky agrees, I will agree. Coulson looked at Sky, who hesitated for a moment before finally nodding in agreement. She had originally planned to join SHIELD, and now that she had the opportunity, of course she wouldn't refuse. Welcome to join us. Coulson said happily. One is a master hacker and the other is a superhero. They can be of great help to the team. Originally, one of his candidates, Grant Ward, was an action expert he was more optimistic about. After all, there is no one in the current team who can fight, but he has not yet officially determined it. Now that there is a Soviet war, it will not be possible. He is needed. Sujan and Sky arranged a room, because the room was not very big and they did not live together. But it doesn't matter, everyone knows that they are a couple anyway. Gemma and Fitz welcome the addition of Sujan and Sky. As for May, although they haven't seen each other before, they can be regarded as friends after meeting them later. After contacting him, he didn't have any special attitude. But what Sujan was curious about was that he didn't see Ward. This Hydra agent hiding in SHIELD. Is it because of me that I replaced Ward? Although he didn't know the reason, it didn't matter. Sujan really didn't like this Ward. If he joined, he would definitely teach him a lesson. In any case, Sky and I have joined SHIELD and can live with SHIELD. With the status of consultants, it will be much more convenient. As the night progressed, after saying good night to Sky, Sujan returned to his room to get some rest. Not long after I lay down, I heard a knock on the door. Sujan thought that Sky was too lazy to get dressed, so he went over to open the door shirtless and wearing shorts. As a result, when she opened the door, she found Gemma standing outside. Chapter 18. Gemma looked at Sujan's dress with some surprise. The strong muscles made her a little shy, especially the boxer briefs underneath were so obvious. Although she had no experience in this area, it didn't mean that she didn't understand anything. Seeing Gemma's shy look, Sujan smiled and joked, "Why, you came knocking on my door in the middle of the night. Are you ready?" No, I just suddenly discovered that Michael was about to self-destruct, but after he was knocked unconscious by you, the centipede virus seemed to have stabilized. Moreover, you have absorbed the extremis virus, so I wanted to ask you about this aspect. Things, maybe I can find a solution. Gemma said, shaking her head. Come in first. Sujan took Gemma's hand and let her in, then closed the door smoothly. You just came to my room like this, aren't you afraid that others will see and misunderstand you? Sujan asked with a smile, looking at the nervous Gemma. No one saw it, Sky was already asleep, Gemma explained. Sujan smiled, you sound like you came to me for a secret date, and you waited until Sky fell asleep to come. Gemma lowered her head, too shy to speak. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. Whatever you want to ask, I promise to answer you. Sujan said with a smile, then lay on her lap and smiled comfortably. Gemma had never had such an experience. Looking at Sujan lying on her lap, especially the way he looked at her, she didn't know what to do. She couldn't think of the questions she had originally thought about. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you until you are ready. Oh. Gemma took a deep breath, calmed down, and started asking. And Sujan was indeed very cooperative and answered all questions, especially his responses to the extremis virus, which he explained in great detail. And these reactions are very precious, and maybe there is a solution to the virus in them. Unknowingly, the two of them chatted for a long time, and when they realized it, they realized that so much time had passed. Ah, it's so late, I'm going back to rest, thank you. Gemma whispered. Good. Sujan turned over and noticed that Gemma quietly breathed a sigh of relief. She looked very nervous. I have to say, I was lying very comfortably just now. This is my first time lying on a woman's lap, and it feels good. Sujan said with a smile. Really? Sky? Gemma said in surprise. Real. Sujan nodded seriously, and then said softly, okay, go back and rest early. Well, I'm going back then, good night. Good night. Gemma stood up and walked to the door to go out, but Sujan suddenly said, try to wear skirts and shorts when you are alone with me in the future. Your legs are beautiful and I like them very much. It would be a pity to hide them. I know. Gemma responded, then opened the door and went out. It was already noon when Sujan woke up the next day. When he came out, he found that Sky was playing with the computer on the sofa, while Gemma and Fitz should be in the laboratory. Two scientific madmen, especially Fitz. In fact, the two of them work together very well, but they are just experiments, and they work together very well. If the plot develops, it seems that the two of them will have some kind of affection, but now, it's obviously impossible. Because of his own appearance, the results of many things will naturally change. Something's done. Carlson suddenly came out and shouted. Peru, 084 was discovered. What is 084? Sky asked curiously. 084 represents an object of unknown origin, which is very similar to you and Sujan. Carlson said. Well, speaking of it, Sky and Sujan are indeed of unknown origin, especially Sujan. As for Sky, her identity is not necessarily much better than that of Sujan. Otherwise, she would not come to S.H.I.E.L.D. investigate your own life experience. We used this codename in the past to determine whether it was useful or posed a threat. The 084 we found last time was very interesting. Carlson continued. What did you find last time? Sujan asked casually. Hammer. When he said this, Sujan immediately realized that it should be Thor's hammer. When Thor first came to the earth, the hammer appeared first. At that time, Carlson seemed to be responsible. Peru, dense jungle. As the plane landed and got on the off-road vehicle, the group soon arrived at an archaeological excavation site. I'm going to park the car in a remote place. It's too empty here. After everyone got out of the car, May said, and then drove away. Coulson and others walked through the jungle and came to a pyramid-like building. At this time, a person walked out of it. He should be the person in charge. Coulson went over to talk, and Sujan whispered, after a while, everyone be careful, I don't think it's safe. I heard that there seem to be rebels here and they have been fighting a war. Fitz said with some fear. Anyway, please pay attention and try to follow me. Sujan reminded them that the conversation over there had been finished at this time, and he invited them to go in for testing. After Sujan entered, he saw something embedded in the wall. 084, unknown object, I just know that this thing is very powerful. Knowing that he was coming here, Sujan was wondering if he could get this thing. But eventually he gave up. Although it is dangerous, it is not very practical. Even if it is given to me, I don't have the ability to turn it into a super weapon. Secondly, he had no place to put it and was afraid of being suspected. He has no plans to leave S.H.I.E.L.D. now, at least not until Sky awakens to the Inhuman's abilities. So, after taking a look, he went out. His current system level is still too low, so there is very little he can do. It would be easy if you could open a plane that you could enter and exit at any time. Then you could make it your own base, have a place to put things, and you could also enjoy researching. After all, with so many things now available, it's hard to guarantee that they won't be caught in the wind. The road to becoming a king is a long one. Chapter 19. Sujan stood on the entrance steps of the pyramid, took out a lighter and fiddled with it. The flames kept flashing. Suddenly, Sujan moved his finger, and the flames suddenly jumped up, split into two groups, and flew out instantly. Ah! Screams rang out instantly, and 2 soldiers screamed and fell to the ground. At this time, many soldiers suddenly emerged from the surroundings, each pointing their guns at Su Zhan. At this time, Mei also came back, neatly put a person aside, grabbed a gun and confronted them. Actually, you don't have to do this at all. Su Zhan smiled at Mei, and under Mei's puzzled gaze, Su Zhan walked over slowly. Don't move, or we'll shoot. The other party shouted loudly, but Su Zhan ignored him. The flames instantly gathered all over his body and flew out quickly as he walked, hitting those people with incomparable accuracy. No one was spared. Not only that, Su Zhan also directly blew up their car. Boom, boom. The sound of the explosion was deafening and endless. By the time Su Zhan stopped at his feet, everyone around him was already lying down. Su Zhan turned around and smiled at Mei, who shook her head helplessly. She now understood the reason why Coulson asked Su Zhan to join. Any dangerous situation seemed to become easy in front of him. What happened? Coulson came out and was startled when he saw the mess outside. He found a woman lying not far away who looked familiar. Camilla. Coulson walked over quickly and said in surprise, "This is the commander of Peru, a friend of mine." "I'm afraid it's not as simple as friends, right?" Su Zhan said with a smile, "Besides, your friends don't seem to be friendly." Coulson shrugged. Camilla had already woken up at this time. She was very surprised to see Coulson. The two were about to reminisce about the past, but Su Zhan said in a disgraceful manner, "You two, now is not the time to reminisce. Coulson, you'd better let your friend leave with her people." "Why?" Coulson asked inexplicably. Just think she's unhappy with me." Su Zhan shrugged. Coulson rolled his eyes. "What reason was that?" "Forget it, if you don't listen to me, don't blame me for the loss." Su Zhan shrugged, turned around and clapped his hands and said, "Okay, everyone, let's hurry up. I think there will be trouble soon." With that said, Su Zhan went over and pulled the thing out. Under Fitz's muttering, he packed it into a box, put it on his shoulder, and urged everyone to leave. "Mei, get ready to drive, we are leaving," Su Zhan said to Mei. Mei hesitated because there was no order from Coulson, but Su Zhan's tone was unquestionable and very serious. Mei thought about it and finally drove. "Anyway, now that the things are in hand, it's time to leave." Mei Gang drove the car over here. Sky, Gemma and others got in the car. Su Zhan glanced at Coulson who was still chatting and shook his head. "Hey, we should go." Just as Coulson was about to speak, gunfire suddenly rang out, and a bunch of rebels appeared from nowhere. "I knew it would be like this." Su Zhan shook his head helplessly, ran quickly to Coulson, dragged him directly to the car, but at this time there was no empty seat in the car. "You go first, go to the plane, I'll be there soon." Su Zhan. "Don't worry, honey, I'll be fine." Take her, she is in danger." Coulson shouted towards Su Zhan. Su Zhan shook his head, "Okay, as long as you don't regret it." After closing the car door, Mei started the car and left quickly. Su Zhan walked towards Camilla who was taking cover and counter-attacking. "Hey, I know what you are thinking, but I advise you to give up this idea." Su Zhan said something, and then controlled the flames to fly. The huge hot flame turned into a fire dragon and roared out. As the fire dragon danced, explosions sounded one after another, just like the roar of the fire dragon. After a while, the rebels were easily eliminated. "This ability is really good." Su Zhan nodded secretly with satisfaction. Camilla looked at Su Zhan in surprise. "You, how did you do that? Are you a mutant?" "Stop being ignorant, not only mutants have superpowers," Su Zhan said without curiosity, and then grabbed Camilla. "What do you want to do?" Camilla panicked. "Get you out of here, the plane is quite far from here." After Su Zhan finished speaking, the surrounding flames rushed over crazily and appeared on the soles of his feet. Following a thought, the flames roared out. "Ah!" Camilla yelled in panic. The heat wave made her feel like she was about to be roasted. The flames under her feet were flying so fast that she was almost frightened. This feeling is like surfing in flames. The hot flames fly past and the leaves and other things nearby are burned one after another. Not long after, Su Zhan saw the plane and the surprised expressions of Sky and others. Perhaps they never thought that they would come back using this method of movement. Seeing their stunned expressions, Su Zhan was very satisfied with his idea. It was convenient, stylish, and extremely cool. The only shortcoming is that it cannot generate fire on its own, cannot support flying too far or too high, and cannot do as it pleases. Okay, we can go. After landing, the flames disappeared, and Sujan walked in casually and said, "Are you okay?" Carlson asked, looking at the embarrassed Camilla. Camilla didn't seem to have reacted yet and shook her head stupidly. The plane took off slowly, and Sujan changed his clothes and came out. As a result, Carlson was waiting for him at the door of the room. "Is something wrong?" "Well, you just kept reminding me not to regret it, and your attitude towards Camilla, why?" Coulson asked. Sujan shook his head, "It's not important anymore." "No, this is important to me." Coulson insisted. "Okay, then let me tell you, I have the ability to predict the future, but it is not accurate every time. I know she will appear, I know the rebels will appear, and I know you will take her on the plane. Then she will make an idea for 084. Although it was safely resolved later, a big hole was blown into the plane, and you will be scolded by Nick Fury. But it doesn't matter now, she is only one person, and she saw my after gaining the ability, if she still dares to make a wrong decision, she is seeking death. Actually, this feeling of doing good deeds and no one knows about it is really not a good feeling. If I weren't worried about Sky being frightened, I really want things to develop, so that it makes sense for me to save you. Do good deeds without leaving your name, it's really not my style." Sujan curled his lips and said something, then turned and left. Chapter 20. Coulson didn't expect it to be like this. He believed what Sujan said. After all, Sujan couldn't target Camilla for no reason, and he and Camilla hadn't seen each other for a long time. People, all change. He suddenly felt a little lucky. Fortunately, Sujan was there. Fortunately, he had this ability. Otherwise, let alone 084 being snatched away. Even if it hadn't been, a hole in the plane would have been a big trouble. Moreover, after this incident, Coulson also knew that Sujan had the ability to predict the future, which was a very important ability. Although he knew that Camilla would not have any crooked ideas now, Coulson still put 084 away carefully, and then contacted the headquarters, preparing to land directly at a special location and put away 084. In fact, Camilla really had no idea. Not to mention that she was alone, Sujan's existence alone was not something she could deal with. In the face of strong strength, her ambitions had to be suppressed. Therefore, Camilla stayed until the plane landed, then said goodbye to Coulson and left. Everyone was relieved that this problem was solved perfectly, especially when they knew that Sujan used the ability to predict the future to solve the danger in advance. They were even more happy. After all, with Sujan here, how many dangers can be avoided in the future? After a brief celebration, the plane returned. "Sky, do you want to go out for a walk after we land? Find a place to eat." Sujan came to Sky's room and leaned against the door and asked. Sky apologized and said, "Honey, I'm afraid not. I want to stay and investigate some clues." "Okay. Then I'll go out for a walk. Contact me if you need anything." Sujan responded, smiled, and said it was okay, and then prepared to go out for a walk. Although the plane is nice, you can't see the colorful world outside. Although Sujan is not a hedonist, he will not wrong himself. He was going to go out for a walk and find a bar to have some drinks. Well, maybe there will be some wonderful encounters. New York, Queens. Sujan, who was wandering around, checked on his mobile phone. There was a very popular bar nearby, and it was said that there were clouds of beautiful women. According to the address, Sujan quickly found the bar. After entering, the music was deafening and noisy men and women could be seen everywhere. So he took a quick glance and found a few beauties with good conditions. Unfortunately, there were already people around him. Sujan was not interested in playing jealousy and stealing people. "Hey? This one is pretty. She can score at least 90 points or above. She has blonde hair and looks like a doll. Yes, it's you." Sujan found a beautiful woman sitting in the corner of the bar and immediately walked over to her. "Sat down." Sujan stretched out his hand to gesture to the bartender and pointed at the blonde beauty's wine glass. 2 glasses of that wine she drank. The blonde beauty glanced at Sujan and said harshly, "If you want to strike up a conversation with me, that's not necessary. I'm not interested in you. Interests can be cultivated. Hello, my name is Sujan." Sujan said with a disapproving smile. I'm not interested in knowing who you are or what your name is. The blonde beauty snorted. Sujan shrugged, well, it seems that you are not in a good mood, but since this is my first failed attempt at striking up a conversation, I hope you can still give me some face. The bartender put the drinks down, and Sujan pushed one of them towards the blonde. The blonde beauty picked up the wine glass and drank it all in one gulp, then stood up and swayed away. Well, it seems I really failed. Sujan shrugged helplessly and didn't pay much attention. After drinking a few glasses of wine, feeling the atmosphere in the bar and looking at beautiful women from time to time, it felt very relaxing. After about 4 or 5 drinks, Sujan was ready to leave. His drinking capacity is not very good, and he is here to relax and enjoy himself, not to get drunk. After walking out of the bar, Sujan was going to find a hotel to rest. Although the room on the plane was nice, it was far less comfortable than a hotel. After walking a few steps, Sujan suddenly noticed that the blonde beauty was wandering towards a remote alley, and there was a person following her. You won't be so bloody, will you? Are you planning to let me, the hero, save the beauty? Sujan muttered and walked over quickly. Although I was rejected just now, I can't just ignore it, not to mention she is a beautiful woman. It would be a pity if someone took advantage of her because she drank too much, wouldn't it? Roll. Just when Sujan walked over and was about to help, he suddenly saw the blonde beauty turning around suddenly and pushing forward with both hands. In an instant, it seemed as if a wave of energy came out and hit the person directly, knocking her out. He took several steps back. What's going on? That was a telepathic attack just now. Sujan was a little curious. There was no trace, and he could only feel a wave of energy. There are many people in the Marvel world who know how to attack like this, but there seem to be not many blonde people who are so beautiful. The first thing Sujan thought of was Susan, the invisible woman in the Fantastic Four, but she seemed to look a little different. Wrong. If you look carefully, it seems that it is really her. It's just that she's not wearing the Fantastic Four uniform, and her hairstyle has changed a bit, so I didn't recognize her in a dark place like a bar. Damn, what a coincidence, isn't it? However, this is Queens, New York, which should be the range of activities of Spider-Man. Why didn't he meet Spider-Man, but he met the invisible woman Susan? Sujan was a little surprised, but she seems to have drunk too much. She can't just let it go, right? Hey, Susan! Sujan shouted. Susan looked at Sujan. It's you, you're the guy in the bar, you're with the puppet master. What puppet master? I don't even know who he is, Sujan said depressedly, but unfortunately Susan ignored his explanation at all. She raised her hand and launched a telepathic attack towards Su. Chapter 21. A burst of telepathic energy crashed into Sujan instantly. The huge force shocked Sujan back several steps, and he felt as if he was about to be torn apart. Is this a telepathic attack? Sujan grinned. Fortunately, his body had been strengthened by the extremis virus, otherwise this would have been terrible. However, the extremis virus is really strong. When attacked by telekinesis, it only felt pain, but no injuries. Hey, that's enough. I'm not with some bullshit puppet master. I just happened to see you looking like you were in trouble and wanted to come over and help. Sujan shouted when he saw that Susan wanted to take action. Humph, do you think I will believe you when you say this? You just started talking to me, and now you are following the puppet made by the puppet master. Do you think I will believe that you want to help? Do I need your help? Susan shouted with a sneer. From the look on her face, Sujan knew that she was drunk and slurred her speech. It seemed that the misunderstanding could not be explained clearly. What bad luck! Sujan muttered depressedly and said, it's up to you. It doesn't make sense to talk to a woman anyway, let alone a drunk woman. Since you misunderstood me, I'll just leave. After saying that, Sujan turned around and prepared to leave. You want to run away because you've been discovered? No way. Susan snorted and launched another telepathic attack with her hands. The powerful and invisible force went straight towards Sujan. Sujan hurriedly hid to the side when he heard a loud bang and the ground cracked. Damn, you are trying to kill me. You have been doing it over and over again. I really thought that being drunk would be a big deal. Seeing the damage caused by the telepathic attack, Sujan was really angry. He originally thought he would be lucky enough to meet Susan. Yes, but now it seems that you may be lucky to meet Susan, but you may not be lucky to meet a drunk Susan. You forced me to do this. I can only let you wake up first. Seeing that Susan had no intention of giving up, and actually began to gather her mental power to form an invisible magnetic field around her, Sujan was ready to take action. The big words sound nice. I want to see if you have the ability to wake me up. As the invisible magnetic field gets stronger and stronger, a transparent aperture gradually appears, rippling layer by layer, and the gathered power of thought becomes stronger and stronger. It got stronger and stronger, and there was even a sizzling sound in the air. Crack! The flames burst out from the lighter, then grew bigger and stronger, gradually surrounding Sujan, rolling layer by layer. At this time, Sujan was like the god of war coming out of the flames, with a smile on his face. Looking cold. Look down on me? Then let's see if I have the strength to wake you up. Sujan said with a sneer, and the flames around him suddenly accelerated, like a sea of fire that instantly rushed towards Susan. Humph, it turns out you can control fire, but that's not enough. Susan said. Suddenly her body shook, and her clothes instantly turned into pieces, revealing the tight-fitting suits of the Fantastic Four underneath. I have to say, Susan's figure is amazing in her tight uniform. The sea of fire came towards me and instantly pounced on the mental magnetic field formed by Susan. Susan's expression was a bit proud. Her telepathic magnetic field was very strong and could not be easily shaken. That's it. I've said it before, this is not enough. What's worse is... Before the word "you" and "by" could be said, Susan's expression suddenly changed. Because Sujan had already arrived in front of her, reaching out his hand as if to grasp the telepathy magnetic field. This alone was not worthy of Susan's surprise. What really surprised him was that the flames wrapped around his hands, like fire fists. In the flames, his hands gradually changed and turned red, like magma. Such high temperature made Susan feel that her mental magnetic field seemed to be melting and being squeezed away bit by bit. This is impossible. Susan couldn't believe it and increased her telekinesis. Sizzle. The flames were beating, and the transparent light of the telepathy magnetic field became chaotic and began to become a little unstable. Susan raised her hands, gritted her teeth, and continued to strengthen her mind power, but the effect was minimal. Do you really think that your mental magnetic field is invincible? Originally, I was too lazy to argue with you, a drunk woman, but you only think that I am made of clay? You can do whatever you want? Now, I am looking forward to waiting. It's time for me to wake you up. Sujan looked at Susan coldly and raised his other hand slightly. Power gathered in his hands, and the distant sea of fire rushed to his hands, entangled in circles, the fire became bigger and bigger, and the air was burned away. Power, very powerful power. Susan could feel that if he punched her down, her telepathy magnetic field would definitely collapse. She has almost used all her strength to bless the magnetic field. Break it for me. Sujan shouted loudly and punched the telepathy magnetic field with his fist. Bang, bang. The invisible mental magnetic field is like an ice cube. It makes a crackling sound from the place where it is hit, and then cracks and shatters instantly. The fist wind generated by the fire fist and the fragmentation of the mental magnetic field, the two forces combined, caused Susan to be directly thrown away. In the blink of an eye, she had hit the wall heavily, and blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. It seems like it's too harsh. Watching Susan collapse and fall to the ground, unable to get up. Sujan's resentment and feeling of being slighted also disappeared. Although he was a little apologetic, sometimes, if you want to solve the problem, you have to prove your strength, right? Are you awake now? Sujan asked in a deep voice as he walked up to Susan. Susan looked at Sujan and seemed to want to say something, but suddenly her head tilted and she fainted. Isn't it? Are you fainting now? Sujan was speechless. Susan fainted at this time. What should I do? We can't just let it go. In desperation, Sujan knelt down and checked, and found that, although she was injured, it was not too serious. The reason why she fainted was because she was drunk. Sujan's face turned dark. Forget it, let's wait until you sober up. Sujan picked up Susan and prepared to open a room in a nearby hotel to accommodate Susan. Hey, brother, you better put her down, otherwise I will be rude to you. Just as Sujan picked up Susan and was about to leave, he heard a sound in the air. Chapter 22. A man hangs upside down on the roof, wearing red striped clothes and a mask. With such a familiar shape, you can immediately tell that it is Spider-Man. Seeing Sujan looking at him, Spider-Man instantly landed, stood in front of Sujan and pointed at him and said, "Hey, if I admit it correctly, what you are holding in your arms is the invisible female Susan. Do you know? She's on good terms with his brother the Human Torch, so you'd better put her down. What if I say no?" Sujan squinted his eyes and looked at Spider-Man. It was obvious that Spider-Man had misunderstood. Sujan didn't know if today was his unlucky day, as he was misunderstood one after another. But now he has no idea of explanation. One or two people are talking to me in this tone. Do you really think I am easy to bully? If Spider-Man had asked what happened first, maybe Sujan wouldn't be angry. But using that tone of voice to put him down right from the start would be too disrespectful of me, wouldn't it? Spider-Man shrugged, then there is no other way, I can only take action. But, believe me, you are no match for me, so I'd better kill him. Before Spider-Man could finish speaking, Sujan was already in front of him with Susan in his arms and kicked him. What are you talking about endlessly? If you beat me, you will take her away, otherwise, she will disappear from my eyes. Sujan shouted impatiently and kicked Spider-Man away. Spider-Man reacted quickly, blocking the front with his arms, taking a few steps back, shaking his arms and saying, "It hurts so much. Why are you so strong?" After saying that, he suddenly raised his arm and made Spider-Man's signature move. On his wrist, the web launcher instantly sprayed out spider silk. With a patter, the spider silk fell to the ground one after another. Although he was holding a person, it did not have much impact on Sujan and he easily dodged it. Spider-Man suddenly sprayed out spider silk and flew up, starting to float in the air while continuing to attack Sujan. Before long, his surroundings were covered with spider webs. Do you want to use spider silk to reduce my movement range? I have to say that this is a very smart idea and is in line with your usual style. After all, your ability is not very strong. If you don't use your mind, I'm afraid he's dead a long time ago. Sujan said approvingly. Hey, although I appreciate your compliment, but, you'd better put the person down. The floating Spider-Man said. Praise? Do you think I am praising you? Although you are very smart and know how to use your own advantages to fight, but, you forgot one thing. Sujan said with a sneer. Spider-Man was a little curious, what had he forgotten? Some people can't be defeated by just using your brain. Sujan sneered and used the lighter to release flames. Holding Susan with both hands, he did not make any move, but the flames around him rushed directly towards Spider-Man. Oh, God, no, no, no! Spider-Man yelled depressedly, and his webbing was burned away by the flames in an instant. It's not over yet, because the flames have already set their sights on him. He hurriedly used the spider silk to float and dodge, and hit in the air very flexibly. Who are you? Why didn't I know you before? Are you new? Spider-Man asked as if he was chatting away while hiding. This is Spider-Man, a slightly funny Spider-Man. Unfortunately, Sujan had no interest in chatting with him. Controlling the flames to gather together and form a big fireball, Spider-Man stopped and watched warily. Do you like fireworks? Sujan said with a chuckle, and the fireball exploded instantly, sparks flying, like fireworks in full bloom. It was extremely beautiful. There was a squeaking sound, and Spider-Man subconsciously looked up and found a ball of fire on the spider silk hanging from him, burning rapidly. No! Spider-Man shouted and his body fell down instantly. He was about to spray out spider silk again to stabilize his body, but suddenly he saw Sujan put Susan down, covered her ears with his hands, and then, opened his mouth. Ah! A harsh sound came from behind. The rippling sound waves sent Spider-Man flying out in an instant. Unable to control his body, he hit the wall like a kite with its string broken, and then fell to the ground with a snap. Sujan stopped speaking, looked at the dizzy Spider-Man, picked up Susan again and said, Remember, my name is Sujan. Next time you see me, you'd better stay away. Don't even think about it. Spider-Man shook his head and sent out webbing towards Sujan, but was easily destroyed by the flames. Where are the people? He suddenly discovered that Sujan was missing. Just as he was about to look for it, a shadow suddenly appeared in front of him. Looking up and looking at the sneering Sujan, Spider-Man raised his hand and said, Hey, I just wanted to make a joke. I think you don't mind. Of course I don't mind, but I also want to play a joke on you. Sujan smiled and then rushed forward. Ah! Spider-Man's screams came, along with the screams and the sounds of punches and kicks. 5 minutes later, Sujan hugged Susan and left from the alley with a bright smile on his face. Fatty beat Spider-Man, and he felt much better. After Sujan left, Spider-Man limped out and looked very embarrassed. Although Sujan didn't specifically use his full strength, his strength was considerable, and thanks to the fact that this was Spider-Man, an ordinary person would have died long ago. Even so, Spider-Man was seriously injured, and he might not be able to recover in a short time. Sujan, where did this guy come from? No, I have to contact the Fantastic Four quickly to rescue Susan. Chapter 23. In the hotel, Sujan walked out of the bathroom and took a comfortable hot bath, which made him feel much better. Originally preparing to come out to relax, he got up inexplicably and came into contact with the invisible woman Susan. As a result, he had an inexplicable fight with her, and then was inexplicably stopped by Spider-Man, and they had another fight. Even though I won both games, I still feel unhappy just thinking about it. Glancing at Susan who was still awake in the room, Sujan took out a glass of red wine and poured it into a glass. He sat on the sofa and drank leisurely, thinking about the two battles just now. Although he won them all, and won easily, Sujan found that his attack methods were still too weak. Invisible Woman and Spider-Man are neither close combat superheroes nor very strong. Therefore, my Extremis virus ability does not have many opportunities to manifest. Although the ability to control fire is good, it only controls flames, rather than generating firepower. If it weren't for his super strength and the power of flames, he might not be able to break Susan's telepathic magnetic field. Although the sonic ability is not bad, it is not exciting and cool enough. How many protagonists rely on opening their mouths to make waves? Even the talk is better than this, right? I still need to develop some more impressive abilities. Sujan took a sip of red wine, thinking that Spider-Man was beaten by him and Susan was taken away by him. This matter is definitely not over. He should find helpers to save Susan, right? Although this is just a misunderstanding, it is not something that cannot be exploited. Who is Spider-Man most likely to look for? S.H.I.E.L.D.? A member of the Avengers? Or the Fantastic Four? The Fantastic Four might be more likely, after all, Susan is one of them, and from what Spider-Man means, he has a good relationship with the Human Torch? Susan is the Human Torch's sister. The Human Torch has an impatient personality and will most likely come to her directly without giving herself a chance to explain. Johnny Human Torch, he can generate temperatures of thousands of degrees, can fly, can also issue fire attacks, and is immune to fire. However, his flames are natural fires and will go out without oxygen, and they can also be played when encountering a large amount of water. Over. To put it simply, it is considered to be above average in terms of fire ability. After Sujan devoured the Extremis virus, he was considering his own strengthening route. After devouring the fire control ability, he became even more determined to take the fire system route. Of course, this is also temporary. After all, he can devour all abilities. He just decides to temporarily develop the fire system route based on the ease of acquiring abilities. His original plan was to gain the ability to control fire, and then devour the Hong Kong man he would meet in the future. He could produce fire, but it was not powerful, and then he would consider Johnny a Human Torch. But the plan did not change quickly, and now it seems that the order is about to change. I wonder if my fire control ability can control the flames of the thunderbolt. Sujan swung the red wine in the glass and waited quietly. Johnny, your sister was kidnapped by a mysterious man named Sujan. I have determined his location, but his opponent is very strong. I beat him up. I'm afraid I won't be able to save Susan. Spider-Man, the first person contacted, was indeed the Human Torch. At this time, the Human Torch was having fun in the bar. When he received a call from Spider-Man, the Human Torch wanted to invite him to play together, but after hearing Spider-Man's words, he had no idea at all. What? You said Susan was captured? Where is it? I'll be there right away. Johnny asked hurriedly. Spider-Man gave an address, and Johnny was about to leave. Leave now? Don't you want to change places with me and continue? The female companion next to Johnny said with some disappointment. Johnny smiled and said, Don't worry, there is a guy who dares to fight against our Fantastic Four regardless of life or death, so I am going to deal with him now and will be back soon. Then we will change places to continue. Wait for me, baby, I'll be back soon. After speaking, Johnny came out of the bar. His body was shaken and instantly turned into flames, and he flew away under the astonished eyes of everyone. On the roof of a certain hotel, Spider-Man is treating his injuries. Watching the fire flying in the distance, Johnny landed. Just as Spider-Man was about to speak, he heard Johnny say, "Where is he? I can't wait to let him know how stupid it is to be an enemy of the Fantastic Four. He is on the 19th floor of this hotel, but I guess he should know that I am watching him here. Johnny, don't mess around. He can control the flame, which just restrains your ability." Spider-Man reminded said. "Really? Not everyone can control my fire," Johnny said confidently, and then jumped directly to the 19th floor. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, he saw Susan lying in the room. And a man sitting on the sofa in the lobby drinking red wine. "It should be you." Human Torch said something and flew over instantly. Boom, puff. The floor-to-ceiling windows were directly destroyed by him. Sure enough, it's him. Looking at Thunderbolt, Sujan didn't have the slightest hint of panic on his face. "Boy, you are Sujan. You are the one who kidnapped my sister. Do you want to become an enemy of our Fantastic Four?" Johnny shouted towards Sujan in an arrogant tone. Sujan shrugged, "I think this may be a misunderstanding." "I don't think this is a misunderstanding. Even if it is a misunderstanding, I'll listen to your explanation after I teach you a lesson." Johnny didn't want to listen to Sujan's explanation at all. When he finished speaking, he had already released flames and hit Sujan. Sujan dodged immediately, and the flames hit the sofa, exploding it. Johnny didn't stop after one hit, and the flames kept rushing towards Sujan, but Sujan could only dodge in embarrassment, but while dodging, the corners of his mouth turned up slightly. The arrogant and proud Johnny had no idea that he had stepped into Sujan's design step by step. Chapter 24. You better stop, otherwise I will fight back. While Sujan was avoiding the swarming flames, he couldn't bear it and shouted at Johnny Human Torch. Fight back if you can. Don't you know how to control fire? Try to see if you can control my flames. If you can't, don't blame me for being rude." Johnny shouted arrogantly. "You are forcing me. Do you know what the consequences will be?" Sujan shouted in a deep voice. "Scare me, I don't care what the consequences are for you, I'm going to teach you a lesson today. If you have the ability, just fight back, I want to see what you are capable of," Johnny said, turning into a pyro and moving towards him quickly. Sujan rushed over. Sujan deliberately took a step slowly and was hit by him, and his clothes instantly burned into ashes. The huge force caused Sujan to hit the wall. Looking at Thunderbolt, who raised his hands and rushed towards him, Sujan roared and shouted, "You forced me to do this." After the words fell, Sujan suddenly took action, grabbing with incomparable accuracy. He caught Johnny Thunderbolt's arm that had turned into flames, but his flames were unable to hurt Sujan. Johnny was surprised for a moment, he didn't expect that he was not afraid of his own flames. Fool! After the Human Torch was surprised, he smiled proudly. "Is my fire so easy to catch?" After he finished speaking, he opened his fingers and hit Sujan like a flaming bullet. However, Sujan showed a disdainful sneer, Human Torch, your arrogant and impulsive character will eventually kill you. Although I took away your ability, I at least saved your life. You should be grateful." Boom! Sujan raised his fist and hit the Thunderbolt directly in the face. The punch was so powerful and heavy that the Thunderbolt almost flew out. However, because his hand was grabbed, he was pulled back just as he flew out to greet him. It's Sujan's fist surrounded by flames. One punch, one circle. Knocked away, dragged back. Knocked away, dragged back. After repeated punches for more than 10 times, the flames on Human Torch's body had been extinguished, his face was almost blurred, and the blows were actually swollen. How is it possible? Squinting his swollen eyes, Human Torch saw that his flames failed to hurt Sujan. Instead, as if following Sujan's orders, they gathered on Sujan's body and hands, and in turn attacked him. He can actually control his own flames, this is impossible. I advised you because you were disobedient. Sujan looked at the surprised Thunderbolt and said coldly, grabbing his hand and already beginning to devour his ability. Crack! At this time, a person jumped in from the broken window. Spider-Man! Thunderbolt, Sujan, stop fighting, it's a misunderstanding. Spider-Man hurriedly shouted as soon as he came in, but what he saw made him very surprised. Sujan actually grabbed the Human Torch. It seemed that the Human Torch had been taught a terrible lesson. Late. Sujan glanced at Spider-Man, then put down the Human Torch. As soon as he let go, the Human Torch collapsed to the ground, seemingly fainting. Didn't you swallow his abilities? Spider-Man asked nervously. After notifying the Human Torch, Spider-Man felt that he should also notify S.H.I.E.L.D. and let S.H.I.E.L.D. investigate who this Sujan was. What origin? As a result of this investigation, it was discovered that he was actually a consultant who had just joined S.H.I.E.L.D. Being able to become a consultant to S.H.I.E.L.D. is obviously unlikely to be a bad person, and it is also unlikely to be unfavorable to Susan, so it is most likely a misunderstanding. So he hurriedly came in to stop it, but unfortunately, it seemed a little late. You should be lucky that I only devoured his ability and didn't kill him. MD, I was unlucky enough today. First I was beaten by Susan for no reason, then by you, and now I'm also beaten by the Human Torch. What? Are you just bullying outsiders like this? Or am I easy to bully? Sujan shouted angrily. Spider-Man was speechless. Who was beaten by whom? Susan was knocked unconscious by you, and I was beaten up by you. Now the Human Torch has not only been beaten, but also his ability has been devoured by you. Who is the unlucky one? Thinking about it, Spider-Man couldn't say these words. After all, Sujan was right. If he hadn't been strong enough, he would have been very unlucky. Hey, I don't know how it will end. I think someone should come to clean up the mess soon. Spider-Man spread his hands helplessly, believing that someone from S.H.I.E.L.D. will come soon. In fact, it is indeed the case, less than 10 minutes. There was a roar of machinery outside, and a huge aircraft carrier approached the hotel. Then the cabin door opened and several people jumped out. A black man wearing a long black trench coat and an eye patch over his eyes. A woman in black tights with a curvy figure. A strong man wearing red and blue stripes and carrying a shield on his back. Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Black Widow Natasha, member of Avengers, spiritual leader and Captain America. Sujan looked at the three of them and named them one by one. If you are here to arrest me, yes, I'm afraid this formation is not enough. Chapter 25. He was seriously injured and passed out. I'm afraid his abilities have been swallowed up. Natasha came to the Human Torch to check, said something to Nick Fury, and then went to look at the missing person. Susan woke up and then looked a little weird. She's fine. She was just drunk. Drunk? Hearing this answer, Nick Fury and others felt their eyes darken. I hope you can give me an explanation. Nick Fury asked Sujan. Okay, but I also want an explanation. I think you know about 084, right? After completing the task, I was going to go out for a walk and relax. I met Susan at the bar and invited her to have a drink. When I came out I happened to see her drunk, walking alone in the alley, with someone behind her. I wanted to help, but she misunderstood that I was with some kind of puppet master, and explained that she didn't believe it and that I wanted to leave her. She still didn't agree and launched an attack on me. I had no choice but to take action, but she happened to be drunk at this time. I wanted to take her here and wait until she sobered up, but before I left, I met this little bug. Pointing at Spider-Man, Sujan sneered, I wonder if you people have been arrogant for too long, and everyone has such a conceited attitude? Isn't it okay to politely ask what happened and then take action? Preconceived ideas. Am I a bad guy? I beat him and left. I thought he was not that stupid and would naturally ask about me, right? I told him my name. As long as he asked first, he would know that I am also a god. Someone from S.H.I.E.L.D. It turns out that this person seemed to have informed the Human Torch first. The Human Torch was even more arrogant. He didn't even give him a chance to explain and launched attacks over and over again. What? He thought I was made of clay and was easy to bully? What else could he say? Deal with me and then listen to my explanation. Then I still have to explain. Just do it, but it turns out that he is not as strong as he said. Haha. That's what happened. Believe it or not, it's up to you. Sujan said calmly. Can the ability you devoured be returned? Nick Fury had no reaction to what Sujan said. He could naturally investigate these things. He wanted to know more about whether the Human Torch's ability could be returned. You must know that although the Human Torch has an unpleasant personality, he is still the righteous party after all. What's more, the importance of the Fantastic Four does not need to be said. Without the Human Torch, who knows how much trouble will be caused in the future? Cannot. Sujan said calmly, let alone saying he really couldn't. Even if he could, he wouldn't be able to pay it back. Otherwise, wasn't the embarrassment just now in vain? He did this on purpose, in order to devour the Human Torch's ability. He deliberately showed weakness at first and then was forced to take action, just so that he could devour his ability without causing trouble. If he swallowed the Human Torch's ability for no reason, the Fantastic Four, S.H.I.E.L.D., and the Avengers would probably cause trouble for him. Although Sujan is not afraid of becoming the enemy of the world, wouldn't it be better if there was a way to avoid it? What's more, the ability to swallow the Human Torch leaves them helpless. Isn't this a better feeling? Nick Fury frowned and said, go to the battleship first, and then notify the other members of the Fantastic Four to come over. It didn't matter to Sud that the battle was over, he was really curious about S.H.I.E.L.D., the aircraft carrier. After boarding the battleship, Sujan ignored the depressed and busy Nick Fury and walked around curiously. Of course, he was accompanied by the Black Widow Natasha, which was considered a kind of surveillance. This is the style of S.H.I.E.L.D. You will not trust anyone, and you must control every situation in your own hands. Because of this, although Sujan joined S.H.I.E.L.D., he was not prepared to stay for a long time. I think you deliberately swallowed the Human Torch's ability. It was an accident that you swallowed Pyro John's fire control ability before. This time, I think you had premeditated it, and for the sake of ability, you also need the Human Torch. Ability? Black Widow Natasha suddenly whispered. Sujan stopped and looked at her, and said calmly, don't forget, if he hadn't been so arrogant and came directly to trouble me, and directly attacked me without listening to my explanation, I wouldn't have been able to devour his ability even if I wanted to. Right? So, even if I am interested in his abilities, I wouldn't be able to do it if he didn't create opportunities for me, right? And I don't have the habit of not fighting back when I get beaten. He is not my woman, nor me. My friend, I don't need to spoil him. Want to cause trouble for me? Yes, as long as you can afford the price. Natasha was silent. Yes, even if Sujan had this idea, what would happen if he had this motive? The only thing to blame was that the Human Torch himself was too impatient. I'll arrange a place for you. You can take a rest for now. This matter is not that easy to deal with. After all, it involves the Fantastic Four. Phil and Coulson are also on their way. We will notify you when there is a result. Yours. Natasha said. Sujan shrugged indifferently, that's fine, I just took a nap. I hope I can get a good result when I wake up. Natasha said nothing and took Sujan to a room. This room looked normal, and he didn't know if there was something else going on, but Sujan didn't care. He believed that S.H.I.E.L.D. wouldn't do anything to him in this situation. Especially Nick Fury, even though he looks like he is going to accuse him when he appears, but as long as he is valuable, he will try his best to retain himself, or use himself. But it doesn't matter, he is using himself, so why aren't he using him? So after coming in, Sujan simply lay down and started to sleep comfortably.